Today is Friday, the 9th of May, 2025. I hope your week is coming to a great end. Good morning and welcome to the AM show. Across Ghana's 16 regions on the Joy News channel, on X Spaces, on Facebook and on YouTube, as well as around the world on myjoyonline.com. This is the AM show and my name is Sweetie Abochi.
My name is Benjamin Akako. Let's usher you right into what you can expect on the show this morning. We'll serve you the news in a bit, followed by the news review. Two stalwarts join us. Kwame Nkrumah, he's General Secretary of the CPP. And then we have Professor Isaac Bwedi, who is Dean of the Faculty of Accounting and Finance at the UPSA. And from there, we get into our big stories. What's coming up?
So today we want to take you back to Ablekuma North because the Ghana Police Service says it is ready to provide security for the collation of the Ablekuma North Constituency 2024 parliamentary election results. And this may bring to an end months of back and forth on processes to get that constituency a member of parliament. That is on our table for our big stories today. But the man on my right has some special package for you today, Ben.
Of course, as always, I'll serve you my blunt thoughts. I've titled it a legislative slap, an executive clap, and a contractual flap. My breakdown. That's what I'm going to be serving you this morning. After that, of course, there are a series of interviews we'll be bringing your way. You don't want to miss a beat, so stick and stay with us.
Well, across all social media platforms, we are Joy News on TV. Get interactive with us, and hopefully when we open the phone lines at the tail end of the show, you get to have your say. Stay with us. Right now, let's start with the AM News. Hi there, I'm Sweetie Abochi, serving you the AM News on the AM show. Details now. There is more pressure mounting on John Dramani Mahama's government to repeal legislative instrument 2462, which allows for mining in forest reserves. This comes at the back of government's sudden U-turn on earlier campaign promises to repeal the LI. Government has, after resuming office, put the LI before Parliament for an amendment of some clauses, a move environmental advocates have rejected. The CSOs re-echoed their position forcefully at the Joy News Nature and Development Foundation National Dialogue yesterday. And James Aveji gives us a wrap of the night.
The controversial legislative instrument 2462, passed under the previous administration, grants presidential powers to approve mining in forest reserves. Before the 2024 elections, then candidate John Mahama vowed to revoke the law. But in a recent policy shift, the president now says his government will only amend it.
On March 20th, 2025, a legislative instrument, LI 2462, was presented to Parliament to amend the Environmental Protection Mining in Forest Reserves Regulation. This amendment removes the president's power to grant approval for mining in forest reserves.
But environmental protection advocates at the Joy News Nature and Development Foundation National Dialogue on repealing the LI 2462 are united in the call for the piece of legislation to be repealed. First is Awula Sewa, National Coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizens.
We've been told that when Parliament comes back, it will be repealed. And we believe that this is going to be the case. So I would like us to move the argument. LI 2462 is a bad piece of legislation. Right. I used to call it a perverse piece of legislation. It is, we believe, going to be repealed.
Her position was echoed by Daraboso of Arocha, Ghana.
The amendment coming from the government, as it is for us, is a total departure and actually completely shocking. They were with us, standing with us, and rallying behind us and moving with us on the call to actually repeal this LI. Countless occasions on record. So for them to turn around and make certain excuses, I see them as excuses to amend, does not really satisfy the political promise that was made.
But of course, some participants hold varied views.
If we have issues to do with people going into our forests, people owning concessions within the forest reserves, then we must take a critical look at the provisions of Act 703.
Director of Nature and Development Foundation, Mustafa Saidu, believes even beyond the repeal, regulatory enforcement must be deepened with the other mining laws to protect the forests.
Even if you are meant to take away the mining in forest reserve completely, because there are still provisions here that will be guiding the existing ones, you would by all means need to amend and then do something about this.
Okay. Executive Director of Climate Voice Global, Josephine Ablekuma, says the grave effects of these mining activities are glaring enough to compel government to take a decisive action now.
The bigger implication is that we're dealing with economic losses, we're dealing with loss of lives, we're dealing with displacement, so people feeling the need to move from one place to the other with no guarantees of better livelihoods, no guarantees of jobs. So these issues need very critical care, very critical need to look at them and need to look to develop really solutions that are sustainable, solutions that are pragmatic, solutions that are not political.
Yeah. But question is, why are successive governments hesitant in taking a pragmatic decision to end the menace? Environmental journalist Erastus Asaredonko seems to have an answer to this puzzle.
You see, there is a political influence to all of this.
The law enforcement.
All the people who are now invading and trying to enter our forest to mine illegally, I would say 90% of them political apparatchiks. Regional chairman, constituency chairman, and all that, who are following people and giving them the backing to go into forest reserves and mine. And that is why the government keeps saying it is complex. And that is why you find that feet dragging, because those are your people. In the past administration, we had cause to name a number of them. And the government did virtually nothing.
One message is clear. Ghana cannot afford to amend her way out of environmental collapse. The environment needs protection, and that must start with the repeal of LI 2462. James Savaji, Joy News.
Now, the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Police Service, Immigration, and all other security agencies have declared readiness to provide full support to the Electoral Commission to conclude the collation of the Ablekuma North parliamentary results. This comes at the back of a high-powered deliberation between the National Election Task Force, the Electoral Commission, and the purpose was to find a solution to the dragging collation process. James Aveji again.
After 5 long months since the December 2024 general elections, there appears to be some hope for the Ablekuma North parliamentary results coalition process to be completed after many failed attempts. Following the much-anticipated meeting between the Election Security Task Force and the Electoral Commission on Thursday, the police have finally declared readiness to provide the needed security.
On our part, the National Election Security Task Force will deploy personnel firmly, yet with restraint. Our presence will be visible but not provocative. Furthermore, we will guard against any attempt by anyone to distort this process through threats or violence.
The Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete-Yohunu's promise is backed by commanders of the Ghana Armed Forces, Customs, Prisons, Immigrations, and the fire services.
The Customs Division is not going to take this thing light, the assignment. But we are ready to embrace with full attention the responsibilities that must go with this election.
On part of the Ghana Armed Forces, we are ready and willing, and we are concentrated to support the lead institutions as they carry out this important exercise that is ahead of us.
As security agencies, our job is cut and clear. Like my brother from the Customs said, no bomb is so big to determine its level of destruction, but when it explodes. So we shouldn't take this assignment lightly.
The IGP has therefore charged the EC to fix a schedule for the final coalition.
In this regard, I would urge the EC to provide the National Election Security Task Force with a roadmap with respect to date and place for the finalization of the collation.
Deputy Commissioner of the Electoral Commission, Samuel Tete, assures of the Commission's commitment to see this through.
We hope that as a Commission, as we engage each other over here, we will actually have solutions to the challenges that we've actually had so far as the conclusion of the Ablekuma North Collation process is concerned.
Meanwhile, Director of the National Commission for Civic Education, Kathleen Addy, has urged both NDC and NPP to accept whatever the final outcome will be for peace to prevail.
And in every election, there is a winner and a loser. There is no middle ground. There's never been. Even in the general elections, we had a winner and we had a loser. So in this election, I want to urge the people of Ghana, particularly the people of Ablekuma North, to accept the results as declared by the Electoral Commission. For politicians, I'm sure they all understand that we live to fight another day, isn't it? It's not the end of the world to lose, and it's actually not the end of the world to win as well.
Stakeholders, including the political parties, await the EC to schedule a date to conclude the coalition to give Ablekuma North a member of parliament. James Savaji for Joy News.
In other stories, the minority in parliament has criticized President John Dramani Mahama's 120-day performance, accusing him of abandoning the reset agenda he championed during the campaign and rather presiding over what they described as a, quote, recycled failure. Speaking at the party's headquarters yesterday, Thursday, Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin dismissed the president's recent address as a self-congratulatory message that fails to reflect the lived realities of Ghanaians. The following report has more details.
Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the minority leader, says President John Dramani Mahama has failed on many of his promises in his first 120 days. They have accused President Mahama of abandoning the fight against illegal mining.
Illegal mining has flourished under his silence. Foreign nationals caught in Galamsey operations are deported, not prosecuted. Contrary to the campaign promises, the promised repeal of the LI 2462 remains unfulfilled. The rivers continue to run red. The forests are gashed open. And the president who accused Nana Akufo-Addo's administration of inaction on illegal mining and promised decisive action offers excuses. The government's inaction on illegal mining is not just disappointing, it is a betrayal.
They've also accused President John Dramani Mahama of being unable to solve the intermittent power supply, popularly known as DUMSO.
From light to darkness. When Ghanaians say, let there be light, the NDC say, let there be darkness. So we have a DUMSO Pro Max. Darkness, darkness, darkness. Mr. President promised to fix Ghana's energy crisis. He accused his predecessor of failure. Although NPP came to meet DUMSO and fixed the DUMSO, yet during the campaign, Mr. President and his party rather accused NPP of not keeping the light on. But let's all be honest with ourselves. The last 120 days, we have seen persistent power outages, low voltage, and silence in the face of national inconvenience.
Another accusation by the opposition MPP is that President John Dramani Mahama has launched an attack on the judiciary.
His Excellency promised, quote, reset the faith in leaders and institutions, end quote. I repeat, His Excellency promised reset of faith in leaders and institutions. But what do we see? He has instead launched a chilling offensive against the judicial independence, attempting to hound the Chief Justice out of office under contrived pretexts while pushing through a 7 hand-picked appointment to the Supreme Court. It has never happened in our democracy.
Well, the MPP is calling on Ghanaians not to buy into what they term as the self-glorification of President Mahama's performance in his 120 days in office, but look deep into their pockets and be the judges for themselves. From the MPP's national headquarters in Accra, my name is Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
The Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources, Kenneth Gilbert Ejay, has embarked on a visit to the northern region to assess the water crisis situation in Tamale and Yendi. Accompanied by engineers from Ghana Water Limited, the minister aims to gain first-hand knowledge of the water crisis situation and facilitate the commencement of the project of the Yendi Water Project, which has been on the drawing board for some time now. Here's more.
Third was cut for the Yendi and Tamale water projects by the New Patriotic Party government, but these projects never saw the light of day. During the campaign in 2024 elections, the Yendi water project was an issue that was highlighted by the NDC as a project they will work on if voted into power. During the thank you tour of the northern region a couple of months ago by President John Dramani Mahama after he won the elections, he pledged his commitment to resolving the water challenges in the region before the end of his tenure. Speaking at a courtesy call on the overlord of Dagbon, the minister said his team is engaging with stakeholders to ensure the successful implementation of the Tamale and Yendi water project.
During the campaign, he mentioned that before its tenure ends, Tamale Yendi water issues are going to be resolved. And I'm here to reiterate it on his behalf that it will definitely be done before His Excellency's tenure ends. Some weeks ago, His Excellency invited me to his office and had a long discussion with me as to how we will go about to resolve the Tamale Yendi water issue. So we decided also to come with our engineers to go to the ground and see what the real issues are. And when we go back to Accra, we will go and put things in place. We are doing the necessary engagement to ensure that when we come on site and we start the project, it's not going to be like what we've seen before. But the moment we come and start, we will see to it that we finish it for the good people of Tamale and Yendi.
In a speech read on behalf of the King of Dagbon, Ndanyana Abukari II, by the Chief of Zangbalan Lana, Dr. Jacob Mahama said, the minister's visit confirms the president's commitment to resolving the water challenges of the region.
I appreciate your decision to visit us and I acknowledge the importance of addressing the perennial water challenges in Yendi Township and Tamale Metropolis. The president promised to solve the water problem before his tenure ends, and this definitely already defines your priorities. To get the project started early enough is what we are all praying for. We welcome the plan to source water from the white water for the southern part of Tamale. This will take the burden of Dalong, our only source of water for Tamale. Honorable Minister, we recognize the significance of this visit, particularly in the light of the water challenges our people face daily. We hope that your visit to us today will lead to tangible solutions to the daily sufferings of our people. As a traditional leader, I'm always committed to working with government agencies to ensure the development of our communities.
Mr. Gilbert Ejay also visited the Bupenas Palace, the Lamashena, the Ablekuma Palace, and some Muslim clerics to assure them of fixing the water situation in the northern region.
Now, in response to the growing climate crisis, the Climate and Development Knowledge Network, together with the Ministry of Climate Change and Sustainability, is equipping the next generation of climate leaders through a hands-on, community-based training program. Elsie Isiedua Kisiedu has more in this report.
The Climate and Development Knowledge Network, CDKN,
marked a major milestone with its climate fellowship program, Impact Face Ghana. The initiative empowers youth to develop climate-smart solutions aimed at tackling both local and national environmental challenges while providing critical financial and technical support. Prince Ansah, Country Director of CDKN, explained that the program is not only about offering knowledge but also supporting actionable change.
This year and then the previous years, we've engaged young people through climate science, communication, climate policy, project management, advocacy, and the likes. The goal here is for them to go back to their communities and engage with their community through different projects, which we are also willing to find ways to support both technically and resource and financial resources for them to implement it on the ground.
The program is a joint effort between government and private sector stakeholders. Technical Director at the Ministry of Climate Change and Sustainability, Cedric Jelu, emphasized the importance of such partnership in creating sustainable platforms for innovation.
One must commend the leadership of CDKN, and here I must mention Dr. Prince and my good friend Valerie, for their innovative ideas in partnership. And we do know about their partnership with Joy FM and other organizations. They have been able to tell us that alone we can go so distance, but together with good partnership you can go far. And our office will depend on such partnership. We hope to deepen it and to leverage on it for transformative and social impact.
For participants like Amanda Sefako Yawetutu, a civic educator, the training has been transformative. She shared how digital tools, including virtual reality and immersive technology, have opened up new ways to educate communities like Kita, where rising floods are threatening schools and homes.
I developed skills on advocacy and the use of social media to create awareness and bring change. Moving forward, I'll be implementing my Project SLE that will go forward and advocate to the pupils in the Kita community on the impact of climate change, as to why their school buildings are being washed away by flood and as to why they're kept out of school. So they're able to understand that this impact is as a result of climate change through the use of climate board games, through the use of climate clubs, as well as virtual reality headsets, so they can have first-hand, in-person experiences and understand better.
The young climate leaders have been equipped to step out not just with ideas, but with plans and confidence to act. CDKN ensure this initiative is demonstrating that local actions led by youth can spark national transformation. LC Kesiedu's report read to you.
Thousands of school-feeding caterers in Ghana have petitioned the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection over the sudden termination of their contracts. The caterers claim they were not given sufficient notice despite having pre-financed food items for the new school term. Speaking on behalf of the school-feeding caterers, Adizatu A. Ankra appealed to the government to allow them run out their contract. Collins Frimpong has more in this report.
Approximately 34,000 caterers are facing financial distress due to a sudden contract termination by government, despite an earlier directive suggesting otherwise. The letter issued on May 2 abruptly ended the contracts, leaving caterers with significant dents and unused supplies. Speaking to Joy News at the Gender Ministry to present their petition, PRO of the caterers, Adijatu Ankra, said the contract with the government was set to expire in August, making the premature termination even more challenging for affected caterers.
You can't stay calm for this debt to consumers. It's too much. We can't bear. Some of us, we can't bear. I don't know others, but some of us, we can't bear this debt.
She appealed to government to allow them complete their contract and also pay their outstanding arrears.
Some of us are widows. Some of us, we have orphans under us, single parents. We are pleading for him to turn back and look for us, so that we should just use the items that we have bought for the third term. And after the third term, we will just leave it calm for the others to come and continue.
Receiving the petition on behalf of the minister, the chief director, Dr. Afisa Zakaria, said the government will look into the matter.
I've heard everything, so I will communicate back to her. But she says you people should remain calm. They want to sort out the issues, and then you later get to know the way forward.
The Ghana School Feeding Program, established in 2005, aims to provide meals to disadvantaged school children, promoting nutrition, education, and local economic development. The program currently feeds approximately 1.69 million children, with around 20,000 caterers and cooks employed nationwide. Reporting for Joy News, Collins Frimpong.
And that takes us into our business update with Benjamin Akakbo.
Welcome aboard our business updates. Let's start first with our currency market for today. Well, let's dive into our stories now. And the Executive Director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Quartey, is calling on government to implement policies to guide the prices of food items in the market. This comes on the back of concerns that despite the stability of the cedi and a drop in inflation rate, consumers are yet to benefit from these gains. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Professor Peter Quartey called on government to engage players and find ways of reducing the prices of items on the market.
Well, I think in the market economy, you use moral suasion, you use policy to direct certain behavior. So if haulage trucks, for instance, there is some incentive that can be provided to haulage trucks and etc. Why not? Government can do that to ensure that food get moved from the rural areas to the urban areas. Some engagement with the market queens. We have associations. Some engagement with them to find out what the issues are, what the challenges are. I remember the previous Minister for Agric went to the hinterland, they brought food items to the Ministry of Agriculture. That is not a sustainable measure, but it tells you the frustration and attempts to cut out or reduce the influence of the middleman.
Now, the process to review the country's current value-added tax has progressed steadily and is almost ready for implementation. The comprehensive review is expected to simplify VAT payments and boost domestic revenue mobilization. Speaking in a virtual engagement with some journalists and civil society organizations, including Imani Ghana, Acting Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Anthony Kwesi Sapong, disclosed that the GRA would soon implement the new system.
Is expanding. The population is growing. Today, we are above 32 million. In a few years' time, we will reach 40 million and over. This implies that consumption is going to grow. And if consumption is going to grow, then VAT must necessarily also grow with it. And therefore, one of the areas that we are looking at is how we revamp our VAT to ensure that it is efficient and it is convenient for both the retailers as well as the consumers. It is for this reason that the minister in 2025 budget announced that there will be a comprehensive review of the VAT regime and administration. And as you may know, that exercise has commenced and is also coming to its almost its end. We believe that the recommendations that will be made will guide our minister to come out with the right policies. And we, as the tax administrators at GRA, will take it on and implement. And we implement it in a manner that will ensure that the VAT, which is the future taxes for this country, is really properly implemented and bring in the needed revenue.
Let's check out now the prices for which the world's major commodities are trading. Well, thank you for staying for our business updates, and I'm handing over to Sweetie Abochi, a.k.a. Christiana Ajo Sweetie Abochi.
In the course of the show today, I'll bring you a picture that tells you where Ben started from.
No problems.
And how he got here today. I'll show you that picture today at the tail end of the show, so stay with us. But folks, that wraps up the AM News Bulletin on the AM Show. We get into our news review segment right now. Please stay with us. We'll be back on your screens in a bit. Hello again. Welcome to the news review segment on the AM Show. I'm Sweetie Abochi. Regardless of anything that Benjamin calls me today on the show, I'm Sweetie Abochi. Now, the AM Show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, and we keep asking if you are thinking of a rewarding investment that you can engage in, then we recommend Waylead Company Limited because it's your preferred choice for such investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several development suite credits right here in Accra. And our new development, Willow Lane, is a special one where elegance always meets tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at affordable cost with flexible payment options. And at Waylead Properties, we also provide 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make sure your stay is a memorable one. Give us a call on these numbers, 0240 111 119 or 0504 499 999. You can also visit our website on www.waylead.org. Benjamin is here and will introduce our guest to you.
Well, joining us this morning, we have Kwame Nkrumah. He's General Secretary of the CPP. Shortly, we'll have our other guest also joining the conversation. Kwame Nkrumah, good morning.
Good morning, Benjamin. Good morning, Sweetie. It's good to be back.
Yeah, we missed you. I missed you. I don't know about Benjamin, but it's been a minute.
Oh, he missed me. I bumped into him a few times and he told me how much he had missed.
Let me say on air what I've said twice already. I love your outfit. It's lovely. Who did it again?
Well, it's a birthday gift from my Auntie Mirini.
Your Auntie Mirini?
Yes.
Okay, so are you giving her shouts or should I force the shouts out? You know, if she sees this, she'll be like, wow, look. But that's a good job.
Thank you.
A good job. Any quick thoughts for us this morning?
Yes. My thoughts go to, first of all, the mother of this nation, Her Excellency Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. And with Mother's Day coming up on Sunday, she's been on my thoughts over the past few days that we hope to have her back soon. She has a lot to offer the country, so we should remember her in our prayers for a total and speedy recovery. And secondly, also today is May 9th, and I think Ghanaians should be commended that for the past 24 years, we haven't had something of the sort that happened in 2001. My thoughts also go out to the family of the victims, and I'm sure they've been able to get over it. And finally, also, I'd like to congratulate the Catholics on the election of the new pontiff.
Pope Leo the 14th?
Leo the 14th, yes.
Robert Francis Prevost.
I hear he's a reformer, so we look forward to a lot of reforms.
All right.
You know what's interesting for me on that angle? The fact that we've had our first Latin American or South American Pope from Argentina.
Yes.
And you know he is American Peruvian.
Peruvian, yes, yes.
He's actually an archbishop in Peru. And at a point he spoke Spanish. It just made for this shift, because for the first time we have a Pope who is both from North America and South America. And his service, it's interesting.
It will definitely pop up in the newspapers. Just to allow time for our other guests to join us, let me tell you what's on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. And on the 120-day social contract, President Mahama said, "We've delivered." In fact, the paper says he declares. Times Needy Fund, I remember Ben talking about it some time ago. We'll bring the details later. On the Akosomo Dam spillage, need for effective control to minimize impact, according to a report. And of course, like I said, the story is here. Cardinal Prevost elected Pope Leo the 14th, first U.S. pontiff. And that tweet from Donald Trump was an interesting one. He says it's a great thing for their country. I know Ben has a lot to say on this, and when we get there, we will discuss. But let me start from an interesting story on page 3 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Edu Boahin accused of stealing 49.1 million Ghana cedis, explains how amount was disbursed. And in fact, I've seen some tabulated accounts, something disbursements on Facebook. I do not want to say for sure if I believe those are the actual representation of how those monies were disbursed, but that's what circulates on social media right now. But let me stick to the story here. A former director of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edu Boahin, has explained how the 49.1 million Ghana cedis he's being accused of laundering together with his wife was disbursed. And in a letter from lawyers, Mr. Edu Boahin attached to a memo addressed to the National Security Coordinator, he said the funds were used for various operational purposes. And the story goes on and on and on. And he explained that the funds were related to transactions between two accounts created by National Security to meet urgent operational demands. Gentlemen, I know we've all followed this story up to this point, so I'll leave it here so that we can discuss. But let me also welcome Professor Isaac Boadi to the studio. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. And good to see you. Ben as well. And, it's been a long time.
Yes. It's good to be back.
Right.
Okay, Any quick thoughts for us so we can quickly get into the stories?
Ben, on the streets, I still have a lot of issues with, I don't know whether foreigners or those from other countries on our streets. Gradually is becoming a worrying situation. Those days they used to start in the morning, but now they continue the activity even in the night. When they're driving through the streets of Accra, sometimes you're not comfortable. And I don't know who is in charge and who's supposed to be responsible for. We can't sit down and wait for something to happen before we react. That's something I want to share.
Okay. So shall we start with this Edu Boahin story? And I still want to stay with you, Prof. Have you seen the breakdown of how the money that he's been accused of laundering has been expended?
Well, it's the first time.
Oh, the first time you're hearing the story. Okay, all right. What about you?
Yes, I've been following the story closely. And it's a very, very dicey issue because security operations of the state are not supposed to be in the public domain. However, with this leaked memo, it looks as if some of the disbursements cannot fall under security engagements. I mean, $500,000 to an opposition party for collation. You know, when this case started, I felt because of the security issues, it should be held in camera. However, if $500,000 was given to an opposition party, then I think it should be live. There should be a live telecast for Ghanaians to know why $500,000 was given to an opposition party. I saw 3 Nissan patrols given to some others, and all that. You know, whether the country is rich or is poor, this is taxpayers' money.
You're right.
And even if it is donor money, it should not be dissipated the way it was. Of course, innocent until proven guilty. And I cannot accuse Mr. Dubois of anything. However, with this leaked memo, I think we have to, a Pandora's box has already been opened, and Ghanaians need to know.
Yeah.
And we want to know, especially
Once
we
you
in the
opened it,
CPP, we want to know, want to get to the bottom of it.
For me, I mean, it's about you today, not my opinion, but I just keep asking myself, is it some sort of a shakedown? Is it some sort of bargaining chip that they have to maybe strong arm the... Well, I want to leave it to you to get into it. But if you look at the breakdown, Prof, for your benefit, I just want to read out some of the things to you. Among the expenditure listed, it said 9 million and above was paid to ISC Holdings as part of payment for specialized cyber and electronic surveillance systems. And they paid 8.3 million Ghana cedis allocated to opposition party for procuring communications equipment to support election results collation, and 5 million and above allegedly paid to special aid of the president-elect for the purchase of high-end vehicles, including a Nissan Patrol, and it goes on. That's just a bit of the details out there for your reflection. I need you to comment on this.
Well, this issue started a few months ago.
Yeah.
And at a point, I was a bit worried about the particular this story. From the beginning, when it started, I thought it was just a small screen. I mean, we were not going to get anywhere with this story. But gradually gaining some momentum and substance over a period of time. This was a leaked memo?
Well, as far as I can tell, but I've seen some official pages of, should I call them government officials or former government officials, posted. So I do not know for sure where it's coming from.
So we don't know the source.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't know the source yet. But if these allegations are confirmed, then we have a problem as a country. We've been talking about revenue and in terms of corruption-related matters affecting our economy. We don't want to see some of these figures here. And I'm sure the case is at court at the moment. I don't know whether he's been granted bail. He's yet to be granted bail. I'm sure in the next few days, we'll get to the bottom of this matter.
Apparently, he was interfering with the investigation, so they took him to Yoko. They held him in custody for 7 days or so to get more information, to allow the processes to run smoothly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Benjamin, before we get to other stories.
So there's the Ghana Water Company Limited end, and the claims about maybe some of these sums being used to purchase vehicles, which would be interesting because that would then fall into the transitional period. Some say he's trying to justify himself. Like you said, let's go to court and get it. But I spotted an interesting submission on Facebook from a friend with some interesting comments, especially for you, Kwame Nkrumah. I wanted to shoot it by you quickly. The person says, "Dear some NDC leaders, I believe that subjecting Edubuahene to a trial in the court of public opinion isn't the best. Yes, the allegations so far stink, but no court of competent jurisdiction has yet to make a determination of guilt. And the man has every right to defend himself as recognized by law. Besides, there is a legal process that is still being followed, and I trust that the state will do a fair and just job. Can we, in all fairness, allow the courts and the parties to this case to do their work?" But the responses. Kofi says, "From day one, I felt this case had been handled poorly. Why must you damage a suspect's reputation before being proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction?" But then someone else says, "There is absolutely nothing wrong engaging the public on the process. In fact, it is necessary. These issues are so grievous." It goes on and on. I just want to read two more because there's a lot of interest in there. This one says, "I totally agree with you. Honestly, I don't like the approach of the AG. My sister, you are not entirely right. Yes, the case is in court and the NDC doesn't have any authority to pronounce him guilty. The NDC hasn't done that. He will be in court to counter those allegations, but the letter he wrote a few days ago should tell you he has no defense for his thievery." And the final one, I just want you to look at all of them. But is he not defending himself in public too? Woyome was tried in public. Do you remember the Woyome I'm speaking of?
Yes.
And we didn't see anything wrong with it. A song was even composed for him by the MPP. Woyome, 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 Woyome. Woyome o Gargantuan Wanchendi. Nobody saw anything wrong with condemning Woyome in public then. Why now? He will have his day in court, which isn't even controlled by the NDC. How do you put these together?
You know, an interesting case in our esteemed appeal court comes to mind. And in that case, I forgot who was Attorney General then, was chastised by the appeal court and the appeal court referred to a common law case from the UK, that the job of the prosecution is not to secure a conviction at all costs. The job of the prosecution is to do justice. However, with all due respect to my former lecturer, one of my favorite lecturers, the current Attorney General, the nature of the press conference, probably it was just meant to put information out there. However, it is very difficult to see the line between sharing facts for the consumption of the public and declaring the suspect guilty. And now that he's apparently defending himself in the public domain, I saw a video where he was walking out of court and a reporter asked him whether he's guilty. And he said he's innocent. At the end of the day, it will come out. And I also saw a letter that he wrote to his lawyers to be forwarded to the AG's department with an attached memo detailing these disbursements. From what I have seen in the media, it was a confidential memo from the BNI, from the Ioko cells to his lawyers to be forwarded to the AG's department, which leaked into the public domain. So I don't know whether we can say that he is defending himself in public.
Maybe we should find out about the source of the leak.
Exactly.
Usually in these instances, you must look at, as a lawyer, you know, who stands to benefit if this is leaked. Who has the higher likelihood of putting this out there? The same way with the CJ's petitions, when they started getting leaked. Who stands to benefit? Why? Who is talking about the issue? Then you can make some conjectures.
It's a very dicey issue. That is why I like what Prof said, that the case is in court. I have always said that I still have a lot of trust in our judiciary, no matter what people say. As a legal practitioner, I know that our judiciary is strong. I have trust in our judiciary. And I know that they'll handle this case very well.
Just a quick follow-up, so we can move from here. Do you think we should change our jurisprudence in terms of how we handle this? Not necessarily the law, but the how. Someone cites, for example, how Woyome and others have also been dealt with in the past, openly, publicly, you know, flayed before they were even, if there was any conviction, it came. The point being that in other jurisdictions, look at the Diddy trial. It's very open. People are whatever, but the jury will have its day and it will decide, right? Maybe we've not got to that point yet, or maybe we should start getting to that point. Do you think there's anything wrong with that? If so, how do we move away from this? That's just quickly, and let's go.
You know, this, I don't know whether we can move away from it. Because interestingly, somebody posted something online about a court case that one of my ancestors was involved in many years ago.
Ancestors?
Yeah, many years ago.
I get it.
And apparently a song was made out of it. So I think this is something that is ingrained probably in aspects of our culture, where as long as you are accused, you are not even convicted, as long as you are accused, you are tagged until found innocent. And you may not even be able to completely redeem your innocence. However, I believe that in order to put a stop to this, I have to say that the media will have to assist. The media will have to assist. Because, you know, a lot of what we consume is what we see in the media space, not only the established media, but even online, Facebook, and other places. That is where these league things go. So the only way to stem this is for the courts to act on it. Because you know when a case is in court, you are limited to the extent to which you can comment on it. But
Judicate.
Yes, exactly. But it seems nowadays this is not being adhered to too much. And if we can go back to enforcing those things, then I suppose we can avoid this trial, this public trial. But these public trials, they've always been there. But of course, culture is not static; it is dynamic, and we should be able to change it. It doesn't all go well, because in the end, I don't think Woyome. I followed his civil case all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Honorable former Attorney General, who became OSP, I've forgotten his name.
The former who? Martin Amidu.
Yes. He did a lot of good work regarding the Woyome case. But I don't recall Woyome being convicted. I don't recall him being convicted or him even being sentenced. So in the end, of course, the civil case...
that was the whole point of what that person was saying.
Exactly. So the civil case was found against him, but in terms of a criminal case, I don't recall...
But if I recall as well, Woyome did make some payments, right?
He did. He did, and some properties too were seized. Yes.
But Ben, are you not equally worried about the recent, the frequency of the leaked documents into the public domain?
Yes.
This whole year we've had a lot. I don't know the next time which document will be leaked into the public domain for discussions. And I think the trends should be watched.
Yeah.
But since you mentioned this whole year, you do know these leaks, even with petitions, it didn't start today.
Oh no, I'm even talking about
there have been leaks
over the
for about maybe 3 years now.
No,
everything leaks.
yes.
Everything.
Yeah,
leaks.
I mean over the years.
But in the handling of this CJ case, for example, the leaks came after some things that happened, which is why I want to keep that out. But in this instance with Edu Buahene, that's why I'm intentionally saying, whom would it benefit for some of these things to come out? So sometimes the leaks too, we must look at them, because if we are supposed to, two parties, we are supposed to keep something secret, but I think it will benefit me, and I send it through the back door. Can you blame the system?
So we don't know who leaks it.
That's the problem.
And who is the beneficiary of this, the leaked document. We don't know what is going to be leaked next time. Maybe my salary.
You have something to hide? All right, gentlemen, let me blaze through the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and then you can reflect on 2 stories each, the ones that pique your interest. NPP accuses government of wasteful expenditure in reaction to Mahama's 120 days in office. Hajj and Cathedral feuding. This is an editorial. Ghana must be more vigilant on security. Cape Coast to launch 8-year development plan, according to the MCE. We have delivered, President Mahama declares. Let me just get a bit of details out there. So President John Dramani Mahama has declared that his 120-day social contract with the Ghanaian people prior to the 2024 general election has been fulfilled. Gamanche Cancer Project Foundation launch campaign, need for effective control to minimize impact. And that is on the Akosomo Dam spillage. There's an interesting one where I want to end. Football fans not to overstay in US after World Cup. And JD Vance has warned foreign football fans attending next year's World Cup in the United States not to overstay their welcome unless they want to answer to the Ice Barbie. Gentlemen, which of these stories would you like to reflect on? Let me start with you, Prof.
We have delivered.
If I was a betting woman, I would have won some money from you this morning. Let's go on. You don't think he's delivered?
A very nice caption. What can I say when a president, the whole president of the country, tells us he has delivered? What else can I say?
Oh, well.
We are speechless when it comes to...
We all can be singing praises of the president or this government. It does not go well for our democracy. So if you have different opinions, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of other think tanks, individuals, other organizations have also rated this administration and have given their own marks. And a night before the next day, we had our president also come in to give his call about his performance within 120 days. And I must indicate that social contract is just illicit and explicit contract agreement between...
Illicit?
I mean, explicit and implicit kind of agreement between a political party and then the public in exchange for votes. Basically, that's what it is. Now our democracy is growing, and that's why we are holding this administration to their own words. Give me mandate and I'll deliver 25 items
26.
within, it's 25.
Okay.
If you look at the contract, there was a typo.
Okay.
The number is supposed to be 25 and not 26.
All right.
Yeah, so I will deliver 26 promises for you. So hold me accountable for 120 days. It used to be 100. We have moved on to 120 days. I don't know where that thing came from. At least, a government is giving 4 years mandate, not 120 days. We have to be emphatic. Why do I have to judge an administration within 120 days when it has, the administration has about 4 years? But at least 120 days, we'll be able to tell the character of the administration. At least, you'll be able to tell the nature, the character of the administration. So if you want to do assessment, we are fair with assessment. But in assessing administration, you just can't come on air, not him, so any other person.
Yeah.
By saying that I have done this, I have done that, I've done that. If you look at the terms, the words in the manifestos, words like, I will establish, I will launch, I will ban, I will do this, I will do that. I mean, in our field, if you want to assess someone, you need to have a criteria to use before you can do a proper assessment. We look at the feasibility of the promise. If you are to get funded, where are you going to get funding from? Will the funding be sustainable? You need to look at the clarity. If you say, I will do this, how many items will be in there? Which period are you going to achieve this? Mm-hmm. What are the measurements? What are the things that you're going to use to measure yourself? I'm giving a background to how you can assess a manifesto. Having said all this, let's look at the manifesto itself. A social contract. If you want to analyze all, you have a problem. What you need to do to segment them into thematic themes or areas. Mm-hmm. For instance, if you look at governance and accountability, you can count about 8 items there. How do you rank or give a weight each, and then you take an average? If you look at economic part of the manifesto, I can count or I counted about 9 items. Look at each and I give a grade. Mm. If you look at the next one, that could be social interventions. Count the number. I think it's about 5.
Okay.
Then look at mining and environment.
Okay, so
about
just briefly, I think we may be... Are you using the manifesto?
I'm basing my argument on the social contract.
The social contract.
Social contract. So I'm breaking down the social contract into the thematic areas.
Okay, all right. Because some of the points
to give you a fair assessment, President says he has delivered. I'm sure that's what he asked. Has he delivered? And I'm sure if I can speak to that, that would be the best way. So if you look at that per our assessment, so if you look at the 4 thematic areas, you then can give a weight to each. But what we perused per the documents submitted social contracts, which call this administration.
By we, you mean the NPP?
No.
What do you say NPP? I'm just clarifying.
What do you say?
Academia,
the UPSA?
The UPSA?
No, we have a TINTA, Institute of Economic Research Policy.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Just for clarity, so we know where you're coming from.
You could have said NDC.
It came first.
We scored it.
In an uncomfortable
I don't know. But there's nothing wrong if I belong to MVP.
Right,
That's not a problem. You know, mining, it had the lowest mark per for thematic area, about 16%. Social intervention.
Within which time frame?
But the same 120 days.
120 days.
And I was emphatic that we are assessing this as just 120. It doesn't mean that, they've not performed well. We had about 4 years ahead of this administration. Social intervention. Our institute scored this administration in terms of weight, average, 52%, over 50%. So the strength of this administration is in social intervention, and we know the character of NDC. If you look at the economic reset agenda, the government had, I think, 43%.
Okay.
If you look at the first one, governance accountability.
I may ask you to speed it up a bit, and if you have a document, like that's
I think we gave it to the reporter.
So read for myself.
So what
he has given
score just to move
the weighted average score for administration was 36 point something.
36 point something.
Which suggests that the reset has stalled before takeoff.
Okay.
Right. And it just tells you that the loudest voice, in fact, when the takeoff has not started, the loudest voice will often come from the leader himself.
I'll come back to you briefly on something, but Kwame Nkrumah, have your bite on that as well.
Well, we in the CPP have also been following it. And we think that in as much as if you look at the 25 areas, some have been completed, some are in the process of completion, some have not been tackled at all. Overall, we would give about maybe around 65%.
65.
However, 65% is not good enough because this is more like the NDC setting its own questions. If you set your own questions, you should be able to get 100%. 65%.
I like that angle.
65% when you have set your own questions is, even if 65% is a B minus, or depending on which university or which grading system, since they differ, 65% when it's your own questions is not good. It's not. It's
technically, though, their own questions, but bordering on areas that we've struggled with for God knows how long.
It's true. It's true.
Is it that simple?
It's true. You're right, but we should also not lose sight of the fact that if there's any failure there, I know the minority were saying there's been, but you know, government is not made up of only the ruling party. In parliament, the minority is part and all that. And the minority shouldn't forget that they've also contributed to some of the successes. The successful vetting of the low number of ministers. Without the cooperation of the minority, this wouldn't have come about. So in as much as we are grading based on the documents before us and the empirical evidence, I think, of course, I said ours is 65%. We shouldn't lose sight of the fact that how is this affecting the ordinary man on the ground? Or as Professor Kofi Kumado of the law faculty said, he said the man on the Medina bus, the ordinary man on the ground, how are these things affecting them? If we're going to look at it from that angle, then I think quite a bit of work has been done. The removal of the e-levy, as much as the percentage seemed small, it's made a big difference. From the little study I've done, there's been an increase in electronic transactions, which is very good for the growth of the economy. And there have been other areas that moves have been made, as Prof says, social intervention. the nature of our problems in Ghana is that we have a large base which is still struggling with policy. So social intervention should be our prime focus. And therefore, the government should try and speed up the removal of the COVID levy and all these other taxes which impacts on the ordinary man on the ground, which also affects
as we proceed, I think I've seen scores of 90, 80, 74, 72, 52 in-house. You said what, 36?
Yeah.
36. You said what, 60?
65.
65 in there. It's interesting because sometimes you need to get into the metrics and find out what yardsticks are being used. But you made mention of the fact that it used to be 100 days, and that was just a convention, right? Just as this 120-day thing is a convention.
Yeah,
it's not written anywhere. You must do anything. But what I am thinking, though, is that can we sort of institutionalize this for responsibility so that for every administration that comes within your first 120 days, come and give us some proper report. It's not a sonar, but it's like, okay, I've taken, if you are not since I took over, it's been 4 months or even 3 months.
Yeah.
This is what I think such yardsticks, metrics, whether we are saying, oh, they've done well or they've not done well, it's good. It will also help any party in power to know that, Charlie, this is really where we are going. This is how the people feel. And if it's just free, I keep saying that unless it's like taxes, if you had your way and you could avoid all taxes, you would avoid them.
Exactly.
That's human nature.
Yeah.
So the politicians, we must keep holding them till, we sort of get where we want to get. And then the things you were talking about, that how does it trickle down to the ordinary man? We must keep on, unrelenting. That's the only way.
Exactly.
That does it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper. So let's move on to the news center now.
Just a point. Prof, I saw you post, you said this. I wanted to bring it in on the 120 day. Mahama's 120 days in office, promise 18. Reform Scholarship Administration. You say bill pending, your score for them 0%. You say scholarships must serve merit, not connections. Reform the system now. So opportunity depends on talent, not lies. Hey, I don't want to be your class.
Have you been to UCC before?
Where?
UCC.
UCC. In terms of what, studying?
I'll tell you. And they do the award marks. Actually, also have been to UCC.
This myth about it. My director is in my ear trying to talk about UCC.
I'll tell you. You walk into a classroom and the lecturer tells you, today you have exams. What can you do?
Why?
It's always you are studying.
I hear they are called quizzes.
I don't have sympathies for
but they do that in different
straight students.
I don't know my time.
But anyway.
Sometimes. But anyway.
Let's get into your comment.
So we have here Adangabe brightens rural kids' future from whose wheelchair. I don't know the backstory, but it looks quite inspiring. You have Roxanne Adangabe, founder of Royal International School. And the story is on page 6 and 7, and it's about a 32-year-old man born with cerebral palsy who is doing his modest best to change lives through education. And I think this is quite inspiring because he is also doing his bit to move the nation forward in spite of his disability, and which we should all be doing. And we also have CD rise and how gold debt relief, 490 million injection, and a weak dollar turned the tide. You know, when I saw the mighty fall of the dollar, the term that came into my mind was Forsonomics, because I think that so far so good. So far, so good. He's the finance minister. He's working a lot of magic, and some said that
is it all to his credit, though?
Well, some said that it's because of the tariff regime in the U.S., but others who have made a comparison with the dollar in Nigeria. Apparently, the dollar in Nigeria is rising.
I mean, it can't simply be on the back of
the tariffs.
Though the tariff dynamics between Nigeria, it's not the same for every country. I don't know what exact percentage impact Nigeria is choking. But there are some positives in the system, which some academics have referred to. We must just ensure that, look, even if it gets to 10, Charlie, it's still high.
It's true. It's true.
If you transact from time to time, you realize that it's bonkers. It's crazy.
It's true.
Even if it's at 10, it's still high, and we must do much better. That's the whole point.
Yes. And another interesting story: minority disappointed in Mahama's 120-day showing, and you have Honorable Afenyo Makin. I must commend Honorable Afenyo Makin. I mean, he's keeping the government on their toes. He's really keeping the government on their toes. I mean, some may have problems. I personally have had problems with some of his approaches sometimes, but he's keeping the government on their toes. And also the minority, I think they're also doing their best to assist the government in their own way. In Parliament, they're making quite good contributions, and they're not being, of course, there are some things that you may say they're being unduly a bit too political. But when it comes to the progressive aspects, I think they are contributing their quota. And then you have CD surge would be sustained, Dr. Forson, which is good news. But as a friend of mine said, he said whether the dollar falls or rises, if he was just using an example, if you don't plant enough tomatoes and store them and distribute them well, the prices of tomatoes will still go up. So there are certain things that are not pegged to the currency necessarily. So even as we tackle the economy based on the currency and the external factors, we should also look internally and then support our agri sector with this in Nkukon and all that. I also saw another interesting story related to the economy about how the rise in cocoa prices is making the Nigerian youth rush back to their farmlands to plant cocoa. Nigeria was a strong agri economy until they found oil. And I think we shouldn't forget about cocoa. And then you also have acute furniture shortage hits Onwe. I hope I've pronounced it well. Onwe SHS. And I hope well wishes and the various authorities will assist them, because without furniture, you cannot study. Sure. And this furniture problem is not restricted to only the less deprived schools. Even in the deprived schools, even in the endowed schools, you have these problems occasionally. So I hope the authorities and well-wishers come.
Prof, comments on any of these stories that are coming from the news center?
Yeah, two stories from the minority disappointed in 120 days. I must indicate that in the coming days, we're also going to have 120 days in opposition presentation. And
now, here we go again. You said we.
Our institute.
Okay, great.
Okay, let me take the opportunity to mention our Institute of Economic Research and Public Policy. So we are going to have another presentation on 120 days in opposition
for
the minority.
Great.
And we'll segment the discussion between the party executives and the minority. We also will come up with their position. Then there's another story on the CD rising. It brings confidence into the economy when you hear stories like that. And these are the stories you might be hearing. If you're having exchange rate of 10, it's not the best, per my good friend comment. We want to see 1-to-1. Can we see that? It's difficult, but at least we have made some effort. But we shouldn't also forget that the story attributed the gains as a result of three things: the position in terms of gold, the weak dollar, and then I think there was one thing that you mentioned.
Fiscal discipline?
No, 440 million from IMF injection impact. About four things have been mentioned. If you look at the first one, the weak dollar, I would say it's a global lack. global lack. It's only Ghana benefiting from the weak dollar. Other countries are also benefiting because the dollar has become weak because of Trump's policies. If you talk about gold, in fact, it's a silent savior for countries like Ghana. We make a lot of revenue from when we have increases in price of gold over the period of time. We benefit. I will make this submission that country should not Ghana only, should not depend on global lack. Must rather depend on homegrown policies that will help sustain. Because is this temporary or for a long haul we will benefit? We don't know, we are yet to see. But when we have the homegrown, and your quotes, what your friend said about planting of tomatoes and all that, we should have homegrown policies that will be able to sustain our economy. Of course, we made gains. And is it as a result of this administration or the previous, or just a global lack? We are yet to see. But clearly, it tells you the debt we leave coming from external, the 490 million injection external, and then the weak dollar external. What have been the local contribution to the growth, in terms of CD rising?
Yeah. Maybe on that point, just quickly, on the gold, just restricting it to gold. I have seen some members of this administration also point to the fact that by end of year last year, December 2024, reserves at the Bank of England in terms of gold stood at 30 tons. At the time, the CD was about 16 plus to $1. As of 2025, within this period, that output has increased by 1 ton. 1 ton. And the dollar is selling at 13 plus. In some instances, 14. Would you still say that gold really was or isn't the cause, looking at the disparity and the fact that with just 1 ton difference, the CD is faring much better by about 3 CDs, 4 CDs? What would you say?
Well, before I respond to that, we should not forget that somewhere 2024, the price of gold was hitting a record high of $2,400 per ton as of 2024.
But we're looking at current prices, right?
Yeah. So over the period, we've not recorded. Look at the price over the period of gold. So whenever there's an upset in terms of prices, we benefit. Anytime we have a drop, it affects our revenue.
So this is just a spillover?
It might not be. I'm looking at what can help sustain this.
Okay.
Tomorrow, if we wake up and the price of gold taking a nosedive, what happens to our economy?
Does the fiscal, discipline that this administration is touting not help? Does that not contribute to the local efforts that, may be giving rise to how well the city is performing? They talk about, discipline in terms of monetary policies and how we expend our money, disbursements and all that. Does it not help at all?
If you're looking at fiscal consolidation, you are looking at how you increase your revenues and control expenditures and any other debts that you control. Within 120 days, how much have you been able to generate in terms of revenue? I don't know if you have the figure. How much have you been able to reduce in terms of expenditures, in terms of debt? So these are 3 areas we have to, within 120 days. And clearly, the story here has attributed the CD rising to 3 important issues.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
In any case, per Gold Board, Ghana's small-scale gold exports for the first 4 months, since we are talking of 120 days, of 2025 hit $2.7 billion. That's according to Gold Board. Let's get into other stories. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, so
because of time,
Prof, we have to quickly do the daily graphic.
Yeah, daily graphic. The front page I have: government cracks down on unfair trade. It's on page 3. SI target market shops, and then I have another story here: government pursue murder, violence suspects. President, that's 120 days. 120-day cocktail of failed promises. That's by the MPP. And then the story of the Catholic Church picks first American Pope. That is also on page 9. And there's another story on page 20. That is Ghana launches Africa's largest AI-driven security center. That is what I have here.
Would you like to do one or two very quickly?
Yeah, government cracks down on unfair trade. It's an initiative by this administration. Anytime we have unfair trade, clearly tells you price fixing, smuggling, and other activities that often impede the growth of the small businesses. And if you extend the discussion to the economy, it affects the economy in terms of revenue. And then we are talking about counterfeit products that will not help for consumption. So if a government is taking an initiative in terms of to crack down on unfair trade, I'm sure we are happy to hear some of these stories so that we don't have a lot of issues in our economy. So that is what I want to talk about on the...
Very quickly, Professor Quartey, Peter Quartey, I believe, of ISA, suggests that there should be some price regulation when it comes to some items. And you know, once some of us hear price regulation, it sounds very... What do you think?
Well, we haven't done this before, yes, over the years.
Price control, way back.
And we can give an account of what happened. Can we go through the same? I mean, so many methodologies, so many ideologies will come when we talk about controlling our markets. Would it be the fair policy to use? Time will tell.
Time will tell. Anyway, before we take any final thoughts, sweetie, today is my wife's birthday. No, I'm not speaking for myself. I'm not speaking easy. You see how all of you are. Today is my wife's birthday. Her birthday is in August, so we still have a way to go. Mrs. Paula Odame. And he says, loads of love and kisses from Kobe, Nana K, KK, and Dr. Odame. So to you, Mrs. Paula Odame, a very, very happy birthday to you. Loads of love and kisses from Kobe, Nana K, KK, and Dr. Odame to you. All right.
Let me get a wrap of your thoughts in 30 seconds each, and then we pop off. Coming from
Well, my final thoughts, I think we've discussed quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think, I would just want to wish you a happy Mother's Day in advance. I wish my own mother, Patricia, a happy Mother's Day. And my wife, Ablekuma, my auntie, Mirini, my sisters, and all Ghanaian women everywhere a happy Mother's Day.
Thank you so much for wishing us a happy Mother's Day. This weekend promises to be exciting. Can't wait to see my mama later. Prof, that's how I call it. She's my mama.
Right. The dollar slump has given emerging market a breathing space like Ghana. But the word is that we can't depend on global luck. We should develop and have our own grown policies to sustain the gains that we're making.
Okay, thank you. So that wraps up the news review segment on the AM show. Ben, unless you have something to say, then thank you to Professor Ezebodi, and thank you to Kwame Nkrumah Botsu. Kwame Nkrumah is General Secretary of the CPP, and Professor Ezebodi is Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance, UPSA. And Prof, we have a conversation after this. Stay with us, because coming up next, Ben, tell them.
Well, I'll be getting into Robert Francis Prevost, our new Pope, Pope Leo the 14th. In fact, let me just get this done and dusted now. So, as you can see, we've elected, like they will say when he gets onto the balcony, the announcement made before, Habemus Papam, right? So the Vatican has elected a new Pope, and he is Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, elected as Pope Leo the 14th. And there he is. I don't know how many of you, I was somewhere getting home, and I was driving. So right when I got home, he was coming to the balcony, and I had to just check it out on CNN and catch all the footage there. And there he is, born on September 14, 1955 in Chicago, Illinois. For those of you who say Chicago, it's Chicago. Chicago, Illinois. He is 69 years old. appointed as cardinal in September 2023. And I got some interesting comments. People were saying, but texting, for example, 20 years prior getting, that's not how it works. You know, it's quite a process. He was brought in by Pope Francis, and it's interesting because some also say that his age favored him and the fact that he is both American Peruvian. He holds both nationalities. He was actually an arzobispo, archbishop in Peru, and that is him.
My God.
And he is the first American-born pope. He was prefect of the bishops. In fact, he was in charge of those who would determine who would become a bishop for that period. So he was a powerful man within the Vatican setup. And that is what we have for you. Just a bit of discourse on the new pope. So there we are. Gentlemen, I see you smiling a bit.
Benjamin, thank you for bringing us details on who the new pope is. I know that you're very passionate about this.
If I'd continued that course and become a priest, who knows? Maybe I could have.
You and I know that it's not. It's
okay. So there's something else to add, though. For those who are saying first African pope, I even listened to the BBC and someone was saying we've had 3 African popes actually in the past from North Africa. So this would have been the 4th. Let's see. It's been 1,500 years. No African pope.
I think they're looking for a black one. So that's it for us this morning on the News Review segment. Stay with us because our big stories come right after. Benjamin's blunt thought is also in the pipes. And of course, E-Corner with Noella Karine. We'll be right back on your screens.
Welcome back on the AM show. And at this juncture, yes, we've done a bit of a switcheroo. I'm going to bring you my blunt thoughts at this point in time. And I've titled it A Legislative Slap, an Executive Clap, and a Contractual Flap. My breakdown. A legislative slap, an executive clap, and a contractual flap. My breakdown. So the clap here, of course, when they say someone is about to get clapped in a certain way, there are going to be consequences. That will come through as I share my thoughts on the code of conduct as espoused by this administration and everything else. But before I set the ball rolling, I'm sure when I said a legislative slap, you caught on. I want you to watch this video in respect of the Save the Judiciary demonstration and what emanated from there in respect of the minority leader, Alexander, or should I say, Osahene Alexander Kwamina Afenyo Market. Watch this. Welcome back. So let me just ask you, though, before I start with some of these thoughts. If let's say, Benjamin Akakpo went out and did that, what do you think the consequences would be if I hit a police officer? Ponder on that, chew on it, ruminate on that. But the claim made by the minority leader is that a police officer assaulted him, and that was his response. Now, no media captured Afenyo's assault. That's something to think about. He claims other senior police officers saw this officer's actions and even protested those actions. Again, that the officer hit him on the chest, close to his heart, as he says in that statement, and that it was an action specifically targeted at him. Let's be fair to him as well. But I have a few questions. If not for the video that emerged in respect of Afenyo Markin allegedly assaulting an officer of the law, my question is, would we have heard anything about this other attack, so to speak, until the video started trending? I hadn't heard anything about Afenyo Markin and this alleged assault. In fact, knowing the minority leader and part of how he approaches matters, I suppose he would have addressed the police officers right there, calling on the media to witness or to report the incident about this assault on him, that he had been assaulted in a targeted action, just as he bemoaned a certain story put up by our online portal seeking an apology, right? This was at the start of the Save the Judiciary demonstration, actually. So that is my first point that I'd like to make. If indeed something like that had happened, that would be the likely reaction I would think the minority leader would bring to bear. But I could be wrong. Again, is he saying these supposed police officers whom he claims witnessed the incident would be willing to testify to that effect? Would they? The police is on the beat. They say they are investigating. In any case, as a legislator or a legislator, knowing the gravity of striking an officer of the law, would he say that was justifiable to lash back at a police officer, even assuming what he purports is true? What would have been the right thing to do in Afenyo Markin's eyes, as not just an MP, but a leader of one side? In effect, is he saying, I was assaulted, and so I assaulted in return? Especially as he's a lawyer as well. So journalists have been manhandled in the past by police officers. They did not physically assault them back. Imagine if a journalist did that. I put myself in that position at the start. What the reproach would be. But can an MP do it and get away with it? Assuming what we know. Because again, like I said, we have one video. We don't have any other video capturing what happened to Afenyo Markin, if it did happen. We saw what happened with protesters, some of whom were jailed under the previous administration for protesting against Galamsey in a demonstration that the state fought to stop. I'm talking about Democracy Hub. In this instance, state officials clearly suggest that this is a right and that there should be no impediments in the way of would-be demonstrators. And yet we see a police officer struck and called Jimmy for. Is that parliamentary? Is it becoming of a leader in parliament? Would it justify any previous actions, especially when, as a lawyer, Afenyo Markin knows his way to the court far better than most Ghanaians? We have seen the footage of the alleged assault. Where is the video to back his claim of an earlier assault by the police officer? And finally, if the minority leader's claim is true, was his alleged counter-assault on the same officer who supposedly hit him, since he mentions an officer's name and describes him as being light-skinned, fair, and all of that? These are all questions on my mind, and I'm hoping that it will proceed and that we'll get to know what the real truth is. But what has been the minority leader's, his reflection or what he has said on the matter? He says, without any provocation, a uniformed police officer stationed behind the barricade, Constable Forson, a tall, fair, heavily built officer, deliberately struck the left side of my chest with the full force of his right palm. That's a serious matter. And I don't see how, if that happened, I'm sure we should have some witnesses to attest to it, right? Again, he says, the impact of the hit dazed me. I was visibly shaken and short of breath. I had to lean against the wall. I mean, it hit him pretty hard, per what he said. So he had to lean against the wall at the entrance of Parliament House to prevent myself from collapsing. He even says he was taken to an infirmary of sorts and had to lie down on a bench. Whichever way, whatever the truth may be, all I'm saying is, let's get to the bottom of it. No one is above the law, not the police officer, not Afenyo Markin. And so we must get to the bottom of that truth. Let me also state that the video we played was courtesy of a different outlet, Jeff also, I believe. And so we're giving him his credits and his plaudits for that video. But moving over from the legislative slap, let's come to the executive clap, or if a clamp down, if you like. So Mahama sanctions officials over asset declaration failure. It's been 4 months, and he says 4 months' salary will be forfeited to the Ghana Medical Trust Fund for those who have failed to actually do what must be done. Give a record of their assets, make their asset declaration. Of course, all of them were going to give a month anyway, or is it 3 months? And now there's the addition. So if you go to the next slide, there's going to be an automatic dismissal if assets are not declared. And timelines, of course, have been given. Next slide. So what exactly is this code of conduct? Some have also said it is not steeped, rooted fully in law, and that if we're going to proceed with this, then some changes ought to be made, some amendments ought to be made. But it says declare conflicts of interest and avoid ostentation. Any conflicts of interest. This right here has been a major problem in our governance. Conflicts of interest. And we've seen so many of them, from the Public Procurement Authority to a lot of the purported scandals we had within the last few years. A lot of them have been based on conflict of interest, where I'm in a certain position, but I'm also benefiting from transactions of the state that eventually come back to an entity that I may own or have shares in or be a director of. So avoid ostentation. No, or ostentatiousness, whichever way you want to look at it. No gifts from parties without government interest. And then declare official gifts above 20,000 Ghana cedis. Recently, there were those electric vehicles that were donated to the president, which he donated to the pool. But some have also said, you shouldn't have taken it in the first place. I don't know what your thinking is. That's up to you. Declare official gifts above. But if he asks me, I would say that on the back of what happened with Mr. Kanazwe, the Burkinabe businessman, how many years ago? That was it 2015, 2016? If I were in the president's shoes, I probably would have said, looking at what has happened in the past, you know what? Let it be. In that position, as a president, and with that experience, I may have said, well, if you need cars for the pool, the states can provide that, right? Anyway, no public funds for gifts, that is hampers. You are not going to be spending public money giving hampers to this or that person from that institution. All travel requires prior chief of staff approval. This one is interesting because this is another angle that is often abused. And when they travel, there's also the per diem. So it doesn't just end with the cost of flight, the cost of the number of people that usually go with them. It also includes per diems and everything in between. Another crucial point added to conflict of interest. Then state assets, including vehicles not for sale. This is a major one here, because a lot of our public officials, especially Article 71 office holders, sometimes find a way of walking away with state-owned items when their tenure is done, buying them cheap. Another good point here. Let's go. No influence peddling by ministers, no solicitation of appearance fees, and all of that. I'm sure when I mention appearance fees, some things come to mind. Let the history rest. Let's leave it there. Do not interfere in court proceedings, and parliamentary duties must be prioritized. Don't recommend friends or family for government roles. Look, whichever way you look at some of these, if we get them right, if we're able to streamline them, enforce them per the law, make them ingrained in law, regardless of whose ox is God, regardless of NDC, MPP, or whichever party is in power, I feel these, if implemented properly, will aid Mother Ghana. Because a lot of the corruption we often talk about, where the devil is in this detail. The only problem is, how enforceable will they be? Will they be enforced to the letter? That's what we ought to consider. Let's go to the next slide. Now, in terms of sanctions for the breach of that code, first, a public apology, a reprimand, and they are in grades, right? A reprimand. Then it could be followed by a suspension, and there could be calls for resignation, or there could be termination. Let's go to the next slide. And so that is what it looks like. But in terms of some concerns that have been raised, like I started earlier, some have said the code has no legal enforcement mechanism. It doesn't have legs to stand on in terms of legally enforcing. So it may be binding because Mr. President has appointed you, and as appointor, he has said that abide by it, else I'll kick you out, right? But moving forward, what do we have to give it? Legislative, executive legs, judicial legs to stand on. What do you think? No independent body to oversee compliance. That's another thing. Who is going to be doing the monitoring and evaluation to ensure that everybody is staying in line? if at the end of the year, like we usually do, some minister, some department, some ministry, department or agency uses some state money to get hampers and distribute them, are we going to know? That's the question. And then passcodes were weekly enforced. So we've had some of these in the past, but how were they enforced? That is the question there. So if you go to the next slide, as we've boldened it, no legal backing. That is one major problem with this. And if Mr. President, let me just say that it's a pretty good start, Mr. President, but don't get carried away. Our former president and some former presidents, Akufo-Addo, started somewhat well, and then things went the way they did. You say you would like to leave a legacy. Do not forget what lies ahead. And don't be so thrilled about winning a battle that you forget the bigger picture, which is the war. So in this bit, I'm just saying that it's a good thing, but the enforcement is where the devil is. And what I just said also links to the last bit here. And I'm talking about the 120-day social contract. But still, I mean, even if you look at the steps to make the code legal, as some have proposed, it says draft a bill for the code of conduct. Cabinet and President must approve and send it to Parliament. This is the parliamentary leg for proper legislation. Parliament debates and makes corrections if needed. The President signs it into law, the usual process of getting a law. And then the code then becomes an act of Parliament, and then we can take it from there. These are proposals, and maybe we ought to take a critical look at giving it legs. Next slide. But let's look at Mahama's 120-day social contract. So I've heard everything from 90%, 80%, 36%, 60-something percent, 52% is what we here independently gave, because that is the percentage of completed projects. Completed, done, as promised. In progress, 28%. Not started, 20%. You would say it's not a bad start, but because of this component here, especially something like the COVID-19 levy, among others, you still have a chunk here. Of course, if these are completed, the numbers could rise. Next slide. But some individual ratings. I'm sure if you followed the conversation yesterday, you would have heard this gentleman, Bismarck Norte, Executive Director, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, scoring the government, at least in these 120 days, 80% based on agric-related matters and some others. Let's go to the next slide. Then Dr. Sairam Kawo, Senior Lecturer, UCC School of Business, gave 90%. Honestly, I think these figures are pretty high. Honestly, if I were giving a mark to this administration, I don't think I would give 90%. Or maybe even 80%, though I feel quite a good job has been done. But I think 90% and 80% are a bit high, looking at some of the defaults. But let's go to the next slide. You also have Dr. Kwesi Amachi-Boateng, a political scientist at the KNUST, also giving 90%. What would your percentage be? And based on what? Because one group, you heard Professor Isaac Brady today giving 36% per some research they had done. In the end, all these percentages would mean nothing if it doesn't trickle down to affect the ordinary man on the street, the ordinary woman on the street, that child out there. So as we give all of these performance reviews, what is the impact? That's what we must look forward to. That's what we must strive as government and as all of us to ensure that we get. Now, if you go to the next slide, we'll just look also. Jeffrey Kabute-Okanse is Executive Director of Revenue Mobilization Africa. He scores 75%. Let's also hear from what government has had to say on this. But Imani's scorecard, they say the uncompleted ones are 8%, in progress 50%, fully completed 42%. So that's their breakdown. Let's go to the next slide. The president said, we made promises, we have kept them. I report that we have fulfilled these promises. Have we in totality? Have we, Mr. President? Have we? Next slide. You would have the Minister in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, also say 20 have been done, 5 are in progress. Next one. I think it is fair to say we have touched on every promise that we made. So touched on does not mean completed, Felix. It's a good thing, but it doesn't mean completed. Like those that are still under review, those that have not been completed, the 28% thereabouts completed. That's when we can have a good conversation on it. And mind you, some people have also said that for some of these, they are easy to complete, but it's about ensuring that legislatively and otherwise, there are other things in place to ensure we don't just waste money. Oh, we've completed it, but how does it roll over and continue and have an impact? Kind of like the code of conduct. So, these are my blunt thoughts for today, and it's simple. We want more. We are Oliver Twist, and we are not relenting, we are not relaxing until the job is done. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. As always, I pray, may God bless Ghana and make her great and strong. Welcome back on the AM show. And with the steady growth of the gaming sector in Ghana, there has been a surge in public sentiment over challenges associated with gaming-related harm and mental health. When I speak of gaming, you understand, right? With the month of May being Purple Month, which is Mental Health Month, the Gaming Commission of Ghana and its stakeholders are throwing the light on the linkages between mental wellness and gaming addiction. How do we resolve them? How do we ensure that we're mentally stable on the back of these? Joining us for a conversation, we have Abena Adomensa, Deputy Director, Licensing and Registration at the Gaming Commission of Ghana. We have Dr. Kobi Boateng, President, Ghana Association of Sports Betting Operators. And we also have Dr. Ralph Owusu, psychiatrist at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. All of them join us for a conversation. Abena, should I say doc and doc? Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me just start off with how important mental health is to everything that we're doing, because obviously if it weren't that crucial, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So I'll come to each one of you for quick thoughts. Mental health. I'll start with you, Abena.
Yeah, thank you very much. So for the Gaming Commission, for the industry, we take mental health very seriously. We understand that gambling comes with certain vices and addiction can easily creep in.
Okay.
And so as it's Purple Month, we believe it's an opportunity for us to throw light on the dangers of gambling addiction, and also to give hope that there's also tools that one can employ to mitigate some of these addictions that come with gambling.
Yeah. Okay. And for you, Doc, just quick thoughts?
Yeah, we as operators are aware of the gambling addiction which has come across the whole gaming as a whole. And we believe that this particular month that the mental health has taken that opportunity to highlight the issues. We also want to be part, so that we throw a little bit of light onto how we can avoid and bring in responsible gaming.
Dr. Owusu, for you, this is right down your alley, right?
Exactly. I believe that mental health is the pinnacle of everything health, because without mental health, your biological or physical health cannot function. So for somebody with strong mental health, you might be disabled physically, but you might be able to achieve more than other people, and the opposite also holds.
Right. Okay, so interesting first thoughts you've left us with, but let's look at the distinction. Is there any distinction between gaming and gambling, Abena?
So gaming and gambling, I'll say they are the same. That is, they follow three principles, and that is, first of all, hazarding a stake. Secondly, on an outcome that is unknown with an expectation of winning. But if you're talking about gambling industry, then that encompasses all the players that come together to make the industry as a whole. So we're talking about manufacturers, we're talking about the operators, we're talking about fintech, we're talking about...
Wow, even fintech?
Yeah, yes, fintech is part, yes. So it's broader when it comes to the industry. It's a number of players coming together to form the industry. So basically gambling, gaming, game of chance they all mean the same because they've all followed 3 principles.
Some would say then even love.
Love is also a gamble.
It's a gamble. Big
I'm
gamble.
telling you.
Someone can shatter. You know, a lot of the mental health issues, some of them are also related to relationships, whether toxic or otherwise.
Exactly. So they are all, life is a game of chance. So
crossing the street is a game of chance.
I'm telling you, we all need mental health awareness.
But just a quick follow-up before I go to the gentleman. Why then Purple Month, mental health awareness, this drive?
So the Commission has a duty to the public. We are a regulator, and that includes ensuring that gaming is done responsibly. And so we thought it wise to come together with the Mental Health Authority as they are celebrating the month of mental health awareness to also bring that awareness of gambling addiction to the populace, to come to understand that gambling is not a bad thing if it is done responsibly, and that there are also tools that one can employ or use to make gambling exciting. So as people now, gambling is quite popular because of the use of smartphones, ease of accessing internet and all that. And so it's an opportunity for us to also give the other side of gambling that many people may ignore.
Let me come to you, Doc, on this, because I want us to get into the psychology of it. When does gaming cease to be entertainment and start becoming an addiction? Because often is the fine line. Where you cross the line, no one knows.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think to summarize, it's when somebody on an individual loses control of their gambling. When the person feels like this is a problem, I would like to stop, but they cannot stop. They go above and beyond to try and stop, but they still cannot stop. So in that case, it looks as if the difference between like gambling, gaming, and use of some substances is not a lot when it comes to it being a disorder. And the hallmark is just that loss of control, and then that very unpleasant feeling they get when they do not gamble. Occasionally, they will be there thinking...
It's akin to when you have substance...
Exactly.
Because then you know it's a problem, but you can't...
Yes. Wow. So it is known that certain people have a predisposition to be addicted to substances, including gaming and gambling, as opposed to other people.
I see. And that's why, for me, growing up, I told myself that any of these things, I don't even want to find out. Whether it's alcohol or I don't want to find out, so I don't even go there because of those predispositions.
Exactly.
So, I mean, in my family, I wouldn't say there's any such, but you never know. It's individual, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
But Doc, Dr. Boateng, what would you call responsible gaming?
You see, one thing I think we have to start with is that when we come into the gaming industry, we perceive it as an entertainment, right? It's only when sometimes, somewhere along the line, people perceive it to be an investment, right? And then...
In fact, the boys on the street, they call themselves investors. I'm sure you've come across
yes, of course.
Investors.
Yes, they are investors.
They are invested in this.
This is where the danger comes in, and this is where we come in and try to define and try to outline what responsible gaming is all about. Coming to the edge of it and realizing that there comes to a limit where you realize that, look, probably I'm putting in too much. Probably I'm spending too much time in here. You understand? As against other places. And when do I stop? How do I manage myself moving forward? So responsible gaming is very, very, very important and accrued to the industry. And that is why we are here today, joining up with mental health in this Purple Month to outline the measures and the tools that comes out with responsible gaming.
Dr. Uso, I think you've already given us some of the signs and symptoms. Right?
Exactly.
Well, I don't know whether there are any others you want to add, but I want to ask, is it a medical condition? Is it classified?
Yes, it is. So for psychiatrists, we have diagnostic manuals. And for the two major manuals, it is gaming disorder, gambling disorder. So even people that compulsively play video games without any reward or physical reward may fit under this kind of criteria. And we have predisposition to all the conditions, including addictions to other substances.
As a commission, Abena, what policies are in place to prevent gaming-related harm to individuals? And I'm sure you, especially the target would be younger individuals who may not have so much control over themselves. And we've also been told that there are some who are even below 18 who engage in gambling sometimes.
Oh, well, thank you for that question. So
I like the smile that came on your face when I said that.
So far, the Commission has instituted certain measures, and one of them includes the verification of identities, KYC, for all operators to ensure that before onboarding every player, they go through some form of verification process to ensure that they are at that legal age of 18 where they can gamble. We've also instituted advertising policies, we call them the guidelines, to kind of promote ethical advertisement so that operators do not take that advantage to promise, what should I call it, outcomes or
exorbitant returns. Exactly,
and promoting some sort of lifestyle that is not achievable. And so with some of these things and ensuring that the operators as well also have these responsible gaming measures in place, for instance, certain limits, providing self-exclusion, certain limits on your deposits and withdrawals. All of these tools are available for players to use to enable them play responsibly and also place some check on themselves. You should make an assessment of yourself to know what you can take and what you cannot take. So before you go onto any site to gamble, make sure they have all these responsible gaming tools available for you to enable you bet responsibly.
In any such instances, Dr. Boateng, there must be some safe spaces, rails to hem you in. Even on a road, you would have the rails so that in case there's some veering off, you don't fall off a cliff. She's already mentioned some of them. Are there any others you'd like to mention?
Yeah,
and then add corporate responsibility and the role it plays in all of that.
Right. I mean, what we have in place is that we have this customer tracking system.
Customer tracking system.
Yeah, customer. See, our system is built that we can see what every player does. Right?
Really?
Oh, yeah. You can track it to the player, to the village, to everything. Right. So with all these tools that we have in hand, we use that to measure the deposits. You see, but we see some of these things, you have to talk to the player. You know, that look, we have noticed this kind of pattern within your playing. So your deposits and everything, we are going to limit it. Your time of playing, we are also going to limit it up, right? We also have that no credit policy, right? So that you can say that I'm borrowing to, within the system to place bet. We also ensure that because of the KRC, as Abena has, we avoid youngsters, coming into play, right? We also have these activations. Sometimes they call in themselves, after we've spoken to them, they call to say that, look, I think I'm playing too much and we feel that we need to be excluded from the game, right? Which we also do that sometimes with conjunction with the Gaming Commission. We also have in the system, which a lot of us are trying to do, the association is helping to come around it, so that you can deactivate yourself from the system, and say that, look, now I'm not going to be playing for a particular length of time. We are also moving forward. The association is going to share data of people that have been calling in and saying that they want to be excluded. So that it doesn't only happen with one particular company, but we share that data and we make sure through the Gaming Commission that we enforce that, right? One of the things which has come to mind is that also, which is going to be suggested to the Gaming Commission, is the influencers that have now coming. They are not being regulated. And I think it's high time that for you can't be influencer, fine, but as long as you are cropping it into the gaming side, you have to have a kind of certification from the Gaming Commission.
Are you speaking of adverts, for example?
Adverts, in advertisement, we do seek, what do we call it, certification from the Gaming Commission. But the influencers, don't have any form of
That's a gray area.
That's a gray area. So this is where we are also trying to work upon.
Okay, so Doc, before we take our call to action and cap off the conversation, just a quick one. Are there support systems in place for people who have become addicted to gaming? Counseling, therapy, what exists?
Yes, so all the services exist. We have Gamblers Anonymous and we have...
you have Gamblers Anonymous?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the mental health authority through the 3 main hospitals and then the teaching hospitals have rehabilitation services. As part of this,
Any of the teaching hospitals?
Yes.
So Tamale, Kolebu...
Yes. Confanoche, and UHAS as well. Mental Health Authority has 3 hospitals: Accra Psychiatric Hospital, Pantine Hospital, and then Ankafo in the Central Region. Okay. So as part of the rehabilitation treatment, we have inpatient rehabilitation treatment, which is usually for drugs and alcohol, but then can work for gambling and compulsive disorders like gaming and gambling disorder. And then as part of that, you have Gamblers Anonymous, where you find like-minded people who have beaten their addictions, who help you stay sober. It's like a whole community of people that are like-minded and have been able to beat this addiction.
Quick one. People would often talk about accessibility. The Mental Health Authority, until a few years ago, we didn't even have, so it's a good step.
Yes.
But people would still talk about accessibility. People don't know that these exist. And even where they do, factors like, am I going to pay for it? Is it gratis? At what cost? All of that makes it inhibited.
Yes.
Tell us what the facts are.
So the truth is, at this point in time, it's out of pocket for most rehabilitation services because it requires a lot of staff that are highly trained, psychiatrists, addiction counselors, and all of that. And I guess to get to a point where it will be subsidized, we will have to lobby through the government and then the appropriate channels so that just like National Health Insurance came to be, we might have some financial support for that. But currently, it is out of pocket.
All right, so this is where I want to chip in. This is where the Ghana Sports Betting Association is actually in conversation with the Gaming Commission. As part of our corporate social responsibility, we are trying to set up something like that, which would be
perfect.
Yeah, free for anyone that needs the need.
Okay.
Because it's very, very important for our industry.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I want us to do this in some 20 seconds each. Right. What will be your call to action? What are your recommendations? I'll start with you, Abner.
Okay. So our call to action will be the fact that players should know themselves and know the tools that are available to them when it comes to gambling. To be able to set those
know
limits.
thyself.
Exactly. You should know yourself. You cannot gamble more than you have. You should know that this is the amount I have, and that is all I'm doing. Discipline.
Yeah, I will also say that this is a situation where a lot of we operators also have to come in and make sure that on our websites and everything, we actually bring in the symptoms, that really indicates that you are bordering onto the addiction so that people will notice it and then, seek help, which now we are going to make sure that it's affordable for everybody free of charge to ask for.
So I would say that, thank you to the Gaming Commission and the Sports Betting Association of Ghana. I think we are moving a step in the right direction. I think children and younger people, adolescents, should be protected because their brains are not fully developed. Sure. And that is where a lot of activism and then your checks and balances should be focused, because if a lot of people get these disorders because their minds are not fully developed before they get into them. So in addition to that, I think the activism and then letting everybody know where the channels are. If you have a problem, you can seek help and then we can help you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. What you said, we really have to go.
Oh, okay.
But you go ahead.
No, what I wanted to add on is that there's a problem that parents are not aware that their youngest children are using their phones. So when I have this opportunity, I want to tell parents...
As in using the parents' phone?
Yes. You see, when they say, send Momo to this one, giving their PIN numbers, they are not aware that their children have taken that and they use that in the betting. So
very true.
It's very important that parents become aware of that.
All right. So as part of this Mental Health Awareness Month, May gaming, there's a webinar on mental wellness and gaming addiction. The theme is promoting responsible gaming, exploring the linkage between mental wellness and gaming addiction. It's slated for Thursday, the 15th of this month at 1 p.m. prompt. And there's also the one on the 7th of May, the 15th of May, and the 30th of May. We've shown you the slides already, so be an active participant. Those who joined the conversation, Ms. Abena Ado Mensah, I nearly butchered your name. Ms. Abena Ado Mensah, Deputy Director, Licensing and Registration at the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Then Dr. Kobe Boateng, President, Ghana Association of Sports Betting Operators. And then Dr. Ralph Owusu, Psychiatrist at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Once more, thank you very much for joining the conversation.
Thank you.
But coming up next, she lost her job after 21 years of working at the firm, working her way through the top. Then she lost her son, whom she's prayed and hoped for after having 3 girls. Vivian Dansudodu says, but for the support system she had, she could not have got back on her feet. In the first of the Joy News series on celebrating motherhood through this month of May, Hannah Odame puts the spotlight on this mother of 4 whose strength is demonstrated by her unwavering devotion to her family.
During her national service days at the University of Ghana, Mrs. Dansudodu would go share application letters at break time and sometimes when she closed from work.
So the same way, I sent one to Shell. And, you know, I built 21 years.
21 years, rising to the top.
Family day, yes, you can imagine. And then, you know, one day it just cuts off like that. And I wasn't too happy though. But, you know, for a Christian, you always have to believe in yourself and you should always know that your steps are ordered by God. So I thought, okay, say, if work is not there, church is there. So I occupied myself. I had a lot to do at church. I had a lot to do for God. And 2019, I have to move to Go Energy.
The mother of 3 girls was hoping for a boy. That bundle of joy indeed arrived, but was also taken away.
We went to the 3rd one. Even though my husband was like, hey, one, okay, one, I'll decide. But then can you imagine?
Another girl. Are we stopping?
Are we stopping? Wow. So we thought we had stopped. Well, my husband thought he had stopped. But me, I knew I hadn't stopped.
You wanted a boy at all costs.
I really wanted a boy. So I went again. But whichever way, he never gets angry anyway. Yeah. So the 4th one came, a boy.
Oh.
You can imagine the joy.
You can imagine the joy.
Then, lo and behold, after 4 years, this small boy, was sick one day from school. We took him to the hospital, and just after midnight, my son said he wants water to drink. I was so happy. Hey, Papa, no, monsieur. Just after drinking the water, I realized his eyes were rolling back. Oh. So I put my hand in his mouth because he was clenching on his teeth. The boy was gone. So I started shouting. Doctors came, they said I should go out. Oh. This boy was gone. Meanwhile, his daddy has spoken with us. Just a couple of minutes, I was so confused.
Oh.
I'm telling you, I was walking all over the place. They were calling me, I was moving, pacing from one place to the other in the hospital.
Same year, however, she was restored.
So I still held on to the faith. I still had hope. I said, God cannot leave me like this. And you see, somehow I got pregnant that same year.
Wow.
Yes. And I gave birth in December.
That same year.
That same year. God restored me. And I believe this is a testimony.
Her son is now super proud of her.
My mother is a really hardworking person. She's always out, and even despite that, she still takes care of us. That's how she was able to raise my older sisters, to the best of her abilities, and now they're all succeeding with their lives. I love my mother so much, and on behalf of the Dansudodu family, I'd like to say thank you to her.
Mrs. Dansudodu has changed jobs and is excited of all the challenges she's surmounted and continues to surmount.
Life itself is a struggle. Combining everything. As a woman, you're combining home, you're combining work, you're combining church, and every phase and started school at a point, before we go to school, we used to live at Bachula. We have to leave home around 5:30 a.m. because of the traffic. So I wake these children up, shouting. Hey, by the time I get to work, I'm exhausted. And everybody's angry. The children are angry, I'm angry. So we sit in the car. When they get down, as if they want to tell you,
I love
Mommy,
you.
Then they go. Then I sit down for a while before I move the car, and I'm like, God, is it only me?
Is it only you?
Oh, it's everybody. So I remember one day I went to work and I was asking a friend of mine, hey, oh, did they stress you? Then she told me, Vivian, shit. Now maybe Manu Kwenye so Manu Puanu Postal.
Live from Kokomemle, this is still the AM show on Joy News. And for our next conversation, history is being made this May 13th at the University of Ghana. The business school, in partnership with the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management Ghana, is launching the country's first human resource management professional chair, a bold step to transform HR practice, education, and policy in Ghana. And joining me for a conversation on this, Professor Obi Beko. He's head of Human Resource Department at the University of Ghana Business School. Prof, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Join us, and I'm so happy to have us.
Okay, thank you. So introduce us to this Professional Chair Media Conference. What is it all about?
Okay, excellent. Now, what it is that within the higher education and the professional institution ecospace, professorial chair is common. Now, what it means is that a profession has matured and they've got into a point that they want to give back to society. Here in Legon, at University of Ghana, we have a couple of them. For example, we have Bank of Ghana Finance Chair here at the university. We also have HCCA Chair at the university. All that they're trying to communicate is that HCCA is robust, is comprehensive. It has so matured that they think that at the moment they have to come to the public and to give back to the society. Now we're saying that this is a history because ever since, whenever I heard of anything like human resource chair at KNUST, University of Cape Coast, it has never happened before. So we think that it's a history which is being made. And both the academics and the professionals are saying that HR Ghana too is really mature. It is time that we have to come up, support public sector, civil society organization, and the corporate Ghana.
All right.
That is all it's about.
And I mean, great points over there. But I want to understand how it supports the broader strategic goals of the University of Ghana and the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management of Ghana. How does it, what's the intersection there?
Excellent. So, for example, today, every organization is interested in receiving entry-level students with some amount of capacity. Now, universities cannot do this alone. For example, we need to go to industry, write cases, and other things. So we're trying to create an alliance that says that we are aligning with the institution, go out there. There's a number of things we can do from an HR point of view in Ghana. We have to make statement with public discourse, labor commission, fair wages, public service commission. There's a number of things we can do. I was saying that if we team up with the institute at the moment, we can do a number of things to come to the classroom, prepare people before they are so much built, and then they say we can now enter the job market. And in that case, the organizations will also be very happy receiving entry-level students. We are really, really built and prepared.
So in terms of the qualifications of the professor who's, joining this professional chair, what should be the unique strengths and qualities of the professor?
So obviously, this is really a very high position. We need a senior academic. And if I say senior, you know, in our space, we have a number of grades. You have to come in as assistant, faculty, lecturer, associate, and then a real professor. This is really somebody who has a professorial rank. And not just that, the person also should be somebody who has some consultancy, practical experience to be able to align what happens in the academic setting and also what is going on in industry, including presentation skills, somebody with a strong negotiation skills, and so on and so forth. Because you have to liaise with the public sector, government policy institutions, and so on and so forth.
So, Prof, let's talk about sponsorship and strategic partnerships, how they sustain or accelerate your agenda. Talk to us about, if any, if you have any on board right now, and how they're propelling your agenda.
Okay, exactly. And it's also one of the reasons why we are hosting the press conference on Tuesday at the University of Ghana. So we're saying that this initiative is a co-creation, and we want corporate Ghana, civil society, individuals to come on board because it's a very big investment in human capital development. So we are setting the stage. That's why we also, this morning, your good station is, hosting us to do this. So we want everybody to come on board in terms of in cash and in kind, all that can be brought on the table to see to it that this history is made.
Professor Beku, hold for me. Let me engage Peter Yao Bosochi. He's risk governance and people risk manager. Sir, thank you for joining the conversation. So we are just discussing this professional chair, and at this point in the conversation, we're talking about strategic partnerships and sponsorship. But you tell us the importance of this chair and why the whole nation should rally behind you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for hosting us. Like Prof said, this is a very, very important project the University of Ghana and then the Institute of Human Resources are having. Now, if you take typically the balance sheet of every organization, the people cost or the employee cost is a very, very significant cost in on the balance sheet. So if this cost is very, very significant, then the people who manage this cost must be really looked at, and they must be people who must be well trained. Okay, so what for us in industry, what the chair, the benefits that it will have for us is the various research, the various networking, the various industry insights that the chair will churn out. And of course, the kind of students the university will prepare for the HR industry.
You've talked about
the support and sponsorship that the industry players will give to this chair will go a long way to benefit us all. Okay, so it's very, very significant, and then we want to invite every organization that has human beings working in it to support this chair, because at the end of the day, it benefits us all.
I've heard you talk about creating real-world impact on industry, and Prof also talked about academia and policy. But what about the society as a whole? Talk to us about that as well, in terms of real-world impact.
Yeah, yes. So at the end of the day, what happens in every organization comes back to society, okay? So let's take our current, we are having issues with how the public service, for instance, is managed. Are they delivering? We are having questions as to whether people in the public service are working. It's all about people management, okay? So this chair, at the end of the day, whatever they churn out in terms of the research, in terms of the outcome of the kind of products the university brings into the market, will go a long way to affect society. So there are things that the chair will bring out. The impact will include, for instance, the trends in people management, the trends in HR. And significantly, we're probably looking at diversity, we're looking at equity, we're looking at inclusion. Of course, the chair will do a lot of research around this and give us the best result as to how these areas need to be managed. At the end of the day, it's the society which will benefit.
So ahead of the 13th of May, I believe you have a key message that you would love to leave our audience with. Let's hear it now.
Okay, so look, the chair.
I'll come to you, Prof. I'll come to you.
Yeah, for us in industry, our key message is that, look, this is going to bring about a transformative impact. There's going to be a lot of innovation, and then there's going to be a lot of development of what the institutes and then the university will bring out in terms of thought leaders, you know. So at the end of it all, let's join hands, because we all benefit. We all benefit from having a very good HR practitioners in the system.
Thank you so much, Peter Yabosrochi. He's Risk Governance and People Risk Manager. Prof, I'm back to you now. So let's talk about the sustainability of this initiative and then the key message that you want to leave our audience with. Prof, do I have you? If you have to unmute if you're speaking. Professor Obi Beko is head of Human Resource Department, University of Ghana. They're the ones leading the charge for this initiative. Do I have Prof with me? Well, I can't seem to hear Prof, but like I mentioned earlier, on the 13th of May 2025 at the University of Ghana, history is being made, and the business school in partnership with the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management Ghana will be launching the country's very first human resource management professional chair. And that's the conversation that we are having. And so do well to follow this program, and all those interested in this field, let's rally behind them to make sure it's a success. I think I have Prof with me now, so let me try again. Prof, are you with me? Okay, Prof, I'm trying to get your final word, but I think our audience, they got the meat of the matter. So unless you're with us and your connection is clear now, okay, that will be a wrap for it. So remember, it's happening on the 13th of May 2025 at the University of Ghana, and it's the very first time we're doing this in the country. So yeah, kudos to the whole team and everyone in that professional body. Now, the Ghana Police Service says it is ready to provide security for the collation of the Ablekuma North Constituency 2024 parliamentary election, the results. And this may bring an end to months of back and forth on processes to get that constituency a member of parliament. Mind you, it is the only constituency without representation in the 9th parliament. We have a report for you on that, because the assurances that are coming from the election task force and the rhetoric of the Electoral Commission and how we can bring some finality to the matter. Here's the report.
After 5 long months since the December 2024 general elections, there appears to be some hope for the Ablekuma North Parliamentary Results Coalition process to be completed after many failed attempts. Following the much-anticipated meeting between the Election Security Task Force and the Electoral Commission on Thursday, the police have finally declared readiness to provide the needed security.
On our part, the National Election Security Task Force will deploy personnel firmly, yet with restraint. Our presence will be visible but not provocative. Furthermore, we will guard against any attempt by anyone to distort this process through threats or violence.
The Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete-Yohunu's promise is backed by commanders of the Ghana Armed Forces, Customs, Prisons, Immigrations, and the Fire Services.
The Customs Division is not going to take this thing light, the assignment. But we are ready to embrace with full attention the responsibilities that must go with this election.
On part of the Ghana Armed Forces, we are ready and willing, and we are concentrated to support the lead institutions as they carry out this important exercise that is ahead of us.
As security agencies, our job is cut and clear. Like my brother from the customs said, no bomb is so big to determine its level of destruction, but when it explodes. So we shouldn't take this assignment lightly.
The IGP has therefore charged the EC to fix a schedule for the final collation.
In this regard, I would urge the EC to provide the National Election Security Task Force with a roadmap with respect to date and place for the finalization of the collation.
Deputy Commissioner of the Electoral Commission, Samuel Tete, assures of the Commission's commitment to see this through.
We hope that as a Commission, as we engage each other over here, we will actually have solutions to the challenges that we've actually had so far as the conclusion of the Ablekuma North collation process is concerned.
Meanwhile, Director of the National Commission for Civic Education, Kathleen Addy, has urged both NDC and NPP to accept whatever the final outcome will be for peace to prevail.
And in every election, there is a winner and a loser. There is no middle ground. There's never been. Even in the general elections, we had a winner and we had a loser. So in this election, I want to urge the people of Ghana, particularly the people of Ablekuma North, to accept the results as declared by the Electoral Commission. For politicians, I'm sure they all understand that we live to fight another day, isn't it? It's not the end of the world to lose, and it's actually not the end of the world to win as well.
Stakeholders, including the political parties, await the EC to schedule a date to conclude the coalition to give Ablekuma North a member of parliament. James Saveji for Joy News.
So there you have it, that report. And joining us for a conversation on the back of this is Dr. Tanko Rashid, Computer. He's Deputy Director of Elections and IT from the camp of the NDC. Doc, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining the conversation. So the Electoral Commission was saying that they needed security in order to complete the collation and subsequently declare the results for the Ablekuma North constituency. Now, the Election Task Force is saying they are ready to provide that security. I want to pick your thoughts on this matter.
Siri, let me say good morning to you and your cherished viewers. Look, let's set the record straight. The Electoral Commission doesn't need security to declare Ablekuma North constituency results. Why do they need security? Because they know what they have done. And that's why they're looking for security.
Doc,
look, let me tell you.
You know that there was a scheduled recollation that was interrupted by some violent clashes. Perhaps that's why they need security to protect themselves and everyone involved?
Sweetie, the problem is this, and it's very strict. We wrote to the Electoral Commission on 17th March 2025 about the issue of Ablekuma North and then the criminality therein concerning the 62 polling stations that they tried to recollate. That led to all these problems. They didn't respond until we replied. We served them a notice again that, please, you have not responded to our first earlier letter concerning this Ablekuma North. You remember our meeting with them, the last IPAC meeting we held with them. We raised cogent issues about the pink sheet, which the Electoral Commission said they don't have. They decided to rely on the scanned copies of our opponent. Why would you think that NDC, we should allow our opponents to bring scanned copies? And in using the scanned copies, even some of the presiding officers came and denied knowledge of those scanned copies. These are criminal conducts. Who manufactured those scanned copies?
Okay,
it was live on your news district, and I was expecting your news item to play that aspect. When the presiding officers came, some of them said, "This one is not ours. I didn't sign this," because what I know is that there was no this is rejected ballot at my polling station. How come this scanned copy had a rejected ballot? It means somebody manufactured it, fake one. And now the EC want to rely on those fake pink sheets to declare the results.
Doug, I'm here with Benjamin, and right before I hand you over to him, are you saying this is not a matter of security to recollate the results? But there's something else I miss here.
No, so the matter is not about security. The matter is about the criminality of the scanned copies that they rely on to declare the results. That is the problem. In fact, we wrote to the IGP. Yesterday, we sent a letter to him requesting for a meeting with him to also bring our issues before him. It is not about providing security. It's about looking at the content and the issues therein. That is what we are looking at as a political party, NDC. Not that we don't want Ablekuma North to have a parliamentary or an MP for the constituency, but we want the right thing to be done. We don't want somebody to shortchange us. You are trying to use our opponent's scanned copies, which your own officers came and denied knowledge of.
All right, Benjamin.
Speaking of which, are you saying that the processes that ought to be triggered or which are being initiated, you are not in support of them once they don't take account of some of these discrepancies you've noted?
Of course, Benjamin, that is the problem. The crux of the matter is 62 polling stations are outstanding. You went and said you don't have. We met you. You, the Electoral Commission, say you don't have them.
But they say they're accepting the photocopies from the MPP.
That they are not even photocopies, they are scanned copies. If Benjamin, you and I know everybody can design something and say it's a scanned copy. They did not even come with the carbon copies. If you have the carbon copies, we will assess it because carbon copies are given to political parties, while the Electoral Commission will keep the original copy. Now they don't have carbon copy, they have scanned copies. They sat in their office, manufactured them. We know MPP. That is their
I don't know whether I've been able to ask you this in the past, but let me ask you now. How come you don't have those copies? Where are your copies as a party?
No, it was during the collation on the 8th of December that they came, hoodlums came. We don't know where they came from, vandalized the whole place. We all lost our pink sheets. 62 could not be accounted. And then so we all agreed. The last IPAC meeting, I sat through it, and we all agreed that, yeah, we don't have. Then it was there that our opponents came and said they have scanned copies, so they should rely on their scanned copies. Why? How can the Electoral Commission stoop so low to rely on scanned copies of our opponent? If not, they are trying to manage the process and declare the MPP winners. That is what they are trying to do.
But at the same time, to be fair, if you look at Dome Kwabenya, for example, and some of what you were able to produce by way of evidence, of course, those were not scanned copies, but what you were able to produce by way of evidence, which the other side did not have, eventually that culminated in the victory of your candidate, right?
Yes, Benjamin, that one we didn't use scanned copies.
I know, I have said that, but at least.
Copies. That is it. So we used carbon copies, and they authenticated it. The presiding officers came and authenticated it. Yes, this our carbon copies. It's true. And we had even the third one where they were saying that they used a different pink sheet instead of the original pink sheet. It was all agreed. Their party members also came, MPP, and also agreed to that. That led to the declaration of Dome Kwabenya. So we're thinking that we could use the same procedure for the Ablekuma North. Should they have the carbon copies? But they didn't have carbon copies. What they came was scanned copies. They just had
in the absence of the other copies that you speak of, these scanned copies are available. Are you saying that since you will not accept them, there should be a rerun in those 61, polling stations? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And yes. In fact, Ben, the straight and simple way to resolve Ablekuma North is for us to go for a rerun for the 62 polling stations. Let's go for a rerun because we don't have it. That has been the case. We did it severally before. Under Farjam, we did it. Akotia, we went and rerun an election in some polling stations. Is it the first time we are rerunning polling stations? We're not running for the whole constituency. We are running the rerun for only 62 polling stations. This should not be a difficulty.
Doc,
let's go and have an election for those 62 polling stations.
Right.
And then a simple declaration will be made. But it doesn't take in the mouth of the NCC director to be telling us that we should accept any results coming in. We won't accept it. What was she trying to push? The agenda she's trying to push over there.
Right. I don't think the NCCE director was technically saying accept the results. She was just saying that, of course, the area needs an MP, which is the other issue. So you must look at the cost implications of doing this again in the 61 polling stations. And then you look at the fact that the area has no MP. Recently, we went out there and the people are crying for an MP. But if these matters remain unresolved, what it also means is that the area is not getting an MP anytime soon. Is the NDC willing to budge so that we can move forward?
Of course, Benjamin, these 62 polling stations, the NDC is committed to making sure that we resolve it amicably. But we don't want to be shortchanged as a political party. NPP, they have shortchanged severally in 2020 and tried the same thing in 2024, but we prevented them. They have not even learned their lessons. But the EC is the one which is giving us all this raw deal. Why would they want to rely on our opponent's scanned copies? That is the bone of contention. They don't have it.
So my final bit,
right,
Sweetie will come in shortly. My final bit. So are you saying that unless we have 61 polling stations to deal with, if the Electoral Commission just sticks with the 3, you are not participating in the process, especially with everything, Irabna Obin claiming she's won, and all the other things that have come up. Is that where this is headed? Or are you going to challenge it in court?
Ben, we are saying that there are 62 polling stations. These 3 that they are talking of, they have used MPP scan copies 59. The 59 they are talking about, they are all MPP scan copies. None of them is from Electoral Commission. None from their presiding officers. They are all from MPP scan copies, 59 of them. These 3 they are talking about, the same scan copies of MPP. None of them from Electoral Commission. That is the bone of contention. Ben, this is the issue NDC is talking about. If they were all coming from Electoral Commission themselves, and that we were having issues, then we could have been singing a different song. But the song we are singing is that these 59 they have declared so far are all MPP scan copies, fake ones.
I'm very curious, and my apologies for these 59 that have been provided by the MPP. Are there any of those polling stations that the NDC won?
Ben, we will not accept MPP scan copies because we cannot authenticate.
Dr. Computer, just answer the question for me. Those scanned copies, are there any of those polling stations where the NDC won per the MPP scanned copies? Are there any?
We can't authenticate because we're not part and parcel of when they were declaring those things for the MPP.
Right.
They did their own thing. They sat there and did their own thing and it came up to 59. The NDC did not participate in that. And so therefore we cannot authenticate what is coming out from there.
Doc, I was in a constituency, I think a week ago, around this time, a week ago. And it's sad to hear some of the constituents talk about having no representation in this 9th Parliament. It looks like your options are between accepting to recollate the results with everything that you have. There's discrepancies you're talking about, your inability to authenticate the scanned copies from the NPP's camp, and a rerun. Looking at the timelines involved, are you willing to just let the constituents keep going without representation in the 9th Parliament until you get the EC to agree to a rerun of the elections in that constituency?
But, Sweetie, what is preventing the EC from doing a rerun? Didn't they rush us to Asin North to do a by-election over there? Were they not happy in running everybody to Asin North to do by-election, a whole constituency? How many logistic problems do they have in terms of running 62 polling stations? Do you know that they wanted to run a re-election for the 3 polling stations in Dominic Kobenya? Do you know that that was their
My point is, it may take time to get the EC to agree to these terms that you're asking for a rerun. They're asking for a recollation. Now that the Election Security Task Force are saying they're willing to provide security, looks like what they have on the table right now is recollation. You're asking for a rerun. It may take time for that to materialize. And the constituents are without representation. Is that a concern at all? I guess is the question I'm asking.
Yes, that's why I'm saying that we are also concerned that the good people of Ablekuma North don't have representation. We are also concerned. But you see, you cannot allow this raw deal and then they will have a wrong representation in Parliament. It's very costly to have a wrong representation.
Okay.
Is that what we are looking for? Our democracy did not make room for wrong representation. The democracy is very clear in who should represent which constituency.
So,
and so we cannot just use raw deal to do that. And that's why we want to meet the IGP too. It is within the power of the security service to provide security. That one there is within their mandate to do that. But you see, they must also listen to us as a political party, the NDC. We also have concerns. And that's why we've written to them. In fact, we wrote to the IGP. And so we are waiting for his response so that we'll meet them and also put our case before them. Not that we are preventing the EC from carrying out their exercise, but we have seen the raw deal the EC is trying to play. In fact, to serve the NDC, they want to serve as raw deal, and that is why we are preventing this. And we will not allow an illegality to be perpetrated on the good people of Ablekuma North.
Dr. Computer, you're saying on authority that you are not willing to go to the table for a confirmed date to recollate the results, except a decision is made to rerun the elections. You are not open to recollation of the results. That's your point on authority.
Yes, our point is that we will not accept scanned copies of MPP to be used as a recollation point. That is the problem. That is the EC doesn't have the document to do recollation. They are relying on our opponent's scanned copies to do recollation. Is that what the CI 127 says?
Right.
CI 127, there's nothing like that in the CI 127, of which the Electoral Commission is supposed to use to conduct the elections. And so that is our point. It's very clear. If the Electoral Commission have their own documents, the pink sheets they are talking of, and they are coming to do recollation, so be it. The NDC will participate because they have the originals and all that. But you don't have. You are relying on my opponent who says, I have this. And he brought scanned copies. He didn't have even the carbon copies. But he didn't have photocopies of the carbon copies. He's rather using scanned copies. And in the era of technology, I'm saying that give me laptop right now. I will design a pink sheet, concord figures on it, and present it as a scanned copy. Is that what we are looking for?
All right.
Is that what we are looking for? That is our problem.
All right. So those matters have been addressed. Let me just ask you, though, on the back of some of what has come through with Dr. Edubuahene out there, Kwabena Edubuahene, in respect of some national security payments as far as election-related collation equipment was concerned. Did you, as a party, receive any such money?
Benjamin, on authority, I'm telling you, the NDC has nothing to do with what came out from that story. You see, when they are talking opposition, they know the opposition they were talking about. He knows it, and everybody knows it. Even those people that they are referring to helped them in their recent demonstration. You know their partners. That's what he was referring to. And I'm sure everybody would have seen that. Otherwise, no right-thinking person will, my arch opponent will give me resources to defeat him in an election. Does it make sense to you? You see, they have their partners, and their partners help them during the demonstration. You know,
who are these partners you are speaking of?
Oh, by the NPP, they have their partners. They all supported them in the demonstration. I want the one to name them. Were they not part of them in their press conferences and all that? And said they were supporting them in the CJ demonstration. They were also opposition, but they didn't find the need to oust MPP. They were always supporting them during our...
Are you saying, and for good reason I don't want to mention, are you saying that those other parties that joined the MPP in the Save the Judiciary demonstration are the partners you're referencing, and that these were the people those sums of money were given to?
I strongly believe so. I strongly believe so. Because if they are saying that they gave resources to opposition party, don't forget those political parties were also opposition, right? They were opposition, but they didn't find the need to fight the MPP out of government. They were always supporting them. When we were in IPAC, you saw your cameras were there. Anytime we were against EC and MPP, they will come strongly and be supporting MPP and EC. And we're not surprised. During the demonstration, they came out strongly and were supporting MPP for this demonstration. So it is reasoning and a trial knowledge. That one is a very clear one. That, look, if they are referring that we give opposition parties, then invariably, your guess is as good as mine. What we do know is that the NDC had nothing to do with that. We fought them hard. We used our own resources, we mobilized our own resources, and dealt a heavy blow to MPP in the election, of which he was part of the MPP.
All right. On social media, I've seen some claims about some specific individuals and parties. I'm not going to mention that, but some people seem to have a hunch about some individual who may have benefited from it. But just to wrap, is it possible that there was some money given to the NDC, but maybe it was someone much higher up and you wouldn't know about it? Is it possible?
It's not possible. It's not possible. I can speak on authority. It's not possible at all. I'm saying that the people these guys are just hanging on a raw straw. It will help them. They should go and do plea bargaining. Otherwise, he's going for 25 years.
Wow, but the matter has not gone to court. See, you're already given terms of imprisonment.
It's simple for him because, they've started prosecuting him. The Attorney General started prosecuting him. And I'm saying that instead of them to go for plea bargaining, they are rather trying every means to tarnish people's image and narrative. But the NDC will have nothing to do with this. In fact, we are supporting the Attorney General. He should go ahead with the prosecution and deal with him properly. The party has no business in whatever rubbish coming out from that corner. We are not part of it. The NDC, I'm speaking on authority, and I was part and parcel with my boss, Dr. Mani Boama, and I knew everything that came out and how it went. They should stop that rubbish and face justice.
Dr. Tanko Rashid.
Those words, though, would you like to take back rubbish? You've used it about 3 or 4 times.
I take it back.
Thank you.
Ben, I've taken it back, but you see, it's so painful and I won't use that word again. I'll leave it as it is. Because for somebody to think that our arch opponent will give us resources to defeat them,
right?
Doesn't make sense to anybody.
Right.
Thank you. It doesn't make sense.
Thank you, Doc.
Well, there's Dr. Tanko Rashid Computer, Deputy Director of Elections and IT from the camp of the NDC. Thank you so much for staying with us for the serious conversations that we've had so far. I'm handing you over to the lady in this colorful lemon. Oh, we are matching. Noella Karin is standing by to serve you E-Corner coming up next. All right, you're welcome back. This is still the AM show, but of course, we're done with the serious talk. It's now time for us to have some fun right here on E-Corner with your girl, Noella Karin Yali. And coming up, she's vibrant, unapologetically authentic, and redefining the sound of Afro-pop with a flair that's impossible to ignore. I mean, from global ears, tuning in to Sad Girls Love Money, a song she featured on, to Ghanaian streets, vibing to her latest banger, Molly has proven time and again that she's not just riding on a wave, but she's actually the wave. And today on E-Corner, we are peeling back the layers behind the music to get to know the woman whose melodies are as bold as her personality, and we'll talk creative freedom, the power of feminine energy in music, and the magic behind her latest anthem that's got everyone shaking it to the max. If you know, you know. But first, let's set the tone. And here's the song that's shaking that playlist from Accra to Atlanta. It's Molly, ladies and gentlemen.
And if you hear this and then go and bend your back, go and bend your knees, baby, shake it to the max.
So that's the famous Shake It to the Max by Molly. Well, what you heard is actually the remix, which features Sheng Yang and Skillbang, the Jamaican artist. But listen, globally, the song is huge, and that has necessitated this conversation with this beautiful lady called Molly. And she's live with us on Zoom. Hi, Molly.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Must have been a chore to wake up early this morning, huh? Can you hear me? Hello? Uh-oh. We're still trying to rework. Okay. Hi, Molly. Can you hear me?
It's been like that this week. I do hear you, but this week has been full of early mornings, so.
Right. Anyway, thanks once again for joining us here at E-Corner. And we want to get straight into this conversation. And we're going to start with talking about Shaking It to the Max. I mean, the song is a vibe. I don't know so much about, individuals who aren't millennials and Generation Z, because, I mean, all over, a lot of people are vibing to your song. It's simply impossible to hear the song and not move. And it's got me thinking, what kind of space were you in while recording, the song? Describe to me that space.
Oh, I knew I wanted it to feel dangerous and confident, super fun. And I wanted to tell people what to do. I wanted it to make them dance. So most of the lyrics are geared towards even teaching people how to move to the song.
Right. And I mean, like you rightly said, your sound in general is quite different. It's not very traditional, like what Ghanaians will traditionally expect. It's soft, it's rebellious, it's Afro, but not exactly Afro. It has a twist to the Afro. It's like alternative. Is your sound intentional, or is this something that you got lucky with?
I think right now it is very intentional. Earlier on in my career, I was experimenting. I was doing what comes to me naturally. Or hearing things from other people and just wanting to do something similar. But I feel like this sound is something I really wanted to happen.
Right.
I really wanted to make more upbeat music, more danceable music that you'll hear in a party or in a club or when you're having fun with your friends. I knew I wanted you to be able to hear my music in those spaces.
And do you have a name for it? Do you have a name, or you're just chilling?
I mean, it's the Molly music.
It's the Molly music. I like that. Anyway, take us back to, your younger years, a teen Molly. Have you always been intentional about pursuing music, or you had other dreams while growing up?
Me and my sister, Melissa, we used to sing a lot together. We would write covers together. I think we even did one audition or two. Remember, there was one Ghanaian TV show we tried to audition together.
Okay.
So I think we were.
Do you remember? Do you remember that Ghanaian TV show?
No, but I think I remember Chris Atto being a host on it. I just don't remember the show. But you guys don't go and find it. Don't go and find it.
We'll go and find it. I'm sure it's Icons or something. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So besides that, I did have other interests. I really feel like I want to get into movies at some point, and I love food a lot, so I'm going to do something about that at some point. I'm going to just explore all of those passions. Yeah.
And so at what point exactly did you feel like, okay, this is it, I'm now pursuing music, professionally? At what point in your life?
Probably after my go-to university attempts.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was supposed to. That was the plan.
Okay.
And I ended up dropping out, moving back to Ghana.
Okay.
And I think at that point, it was a lot of try and fails in terms of maybe getting a job or figuring out what I want to do. I would take lots of pictures, like modeling type pictures. I just knew I wanted to be creative. But then I found it in music, right? And I knew it was something I didn't want to stop doing.
Okay, so you dropped out of school. That's okay to pursue your passion, which is a good thing. But is it something are you going to go back to education, or you're like, you know what? I'm already making the money. I'm making a name. I mean, who cares about school?
I don't know. It depends. If I find a passion along my journey that requires education, I will take it, because I always want to evolve. So I'm not going to say no to that.
Right. Okay. Now let's talk about how big your sound has become. But before that, are you Ghanaian? I know you're Ghanaian, obviously. You're a Fanti, but you're half Ghanaian and half what?
American.
Okay. So let's now talk about how huge your song Shaking It to the Max, or Shake It to the Max, has become. I mean, globally, a lot of people, I've seen people jam to it in the UK, in the US, in China, which is quite surprising, and then Jamaica as well. You have the opportunity to even perform on the same stage as, Skillbang, Shenyang, and Vibes Cartel. Describe to us that moment, standing in front of that huge crowd.
Oh, wow, it was incredible. And the thing is, I didn't even know Vibes Cartel was going to join that performance. It was like a huge surprise to even me.
Okay.
So I think like the moments on its own, like it couldn't have been any better. That was like my first time meeting him in person. So I was just beyond excited. I mean, look, even me looking at the video with Skilly and Shen right now, I think it's just a beautiful moment. I think it's legend.
And that collaboration especially on the remix, how did that happen?
I think it was the producer. The producer got Skilly Bang on the song, and my distributor Gamma also got Shansia on the song. But there's been so many other artists that have put out
I've seen
their versions as well. So we're gonna be putting out some more remixes.
Right. And I mean, did you envisage how huge the song has become? Did you think that I've recorded this song, it sounds good, it's going to be the next big thing? Did you ever see this coming, or it's all very overwhelming?
Oh, I mean, something similar has happened before, so I wouldn't say like it shocks me. I will say that it is really amazing, and I'm really grateful. Like, obviously, like I didn't know the extent of how this could be. I think it's just beautiful because not only do you have people doing the dance all over, you have like artists from all over the world kind of doing their own versions. I think it's kind of uniting the world in some kind of way, an interesting way.
Right. Awesome stuff. And one thing I have personally noticed about your personality, is how feminine you are. You own your feminine energy, especially in your music. And you aren't even shy about expressing it, freely, very playful, very flirty. Is it, intentional, and how important is femininity in your music?
Oh, I think for me, right, because I'm a girl living in this world, and I go through so many things that can be overwhelming. And my music is a place that I ground myself.
Right.
So it's also a place where I give myself therapy. So most of my music is geared towards making myself feel good and feel confident and like just shine away from any kind of negativity that just doesn't, make me feel good. So it's like a release. So most of my song is geared towards making women feel confident about themselves too, because if you're repeating those lyrics, like you're affirming that to yourself.
Right. So that's like your central message behind every, record you record or you put out.
Well, majority, I would say.
Okay. But what are some of the, subject matter you like to explore with your music?
Heartbreak or being in love, having fun. And then also, like I said, certain songs that, speak about confidence. Like I have a song called Ghana Bob. And the first line of the song is, everything I do, I'm killing it. I'm the spicy and he's seasoning. And in those two lines, I've already told you I'm coming in here and you're ready for my energy. I'm owning the space. So like, it's stuff like that. I also create music that I would say is inspiring, motivational, stuff like that.
I see. Awesome. Now, apart from Shaking It to the Max, there's another song that I've seen you release that's also gradually picking up. What's the title?
Is it Baki?
Yeah, Baki ta ta ta. What's that? What's that song about?
Baki? Baki tap again. So the main line is Baki tap again. And Baki is just me shortening that up and playing around with it, making it more playful. But it's just a danceable song. So it's really fun, and it's a party song. Like I'm basically in the feel of being in a party, and no wanting probably any guy to come and worry me or annoy me. And just have my own fun in peace. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, music to you, for me. I mean, looking at you and how you treat your craft. There are people that I have interviewed, and from my conversations with them, they tell you how serious they take this thing. Some of them would even fast. Some of them will lock themselves up, would put lights out, try to get some sort of energy. She's laughing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, I get it. I feel you, girl.
But for you, you are like very playful. Like you take music very easy, very Like, it comes to you easily. Is that a right thing to say?
I wouldn't say that. I do take it personal. Right now, I'm at the point of promotion. Like, I've done the intense parts. Okay. But I am very intense when it comes to it. It sounds playful, but I put a lot of thoughts like into it because I really want to make sure like it sits right sonically. I want to make sure that every word and every melody is exactly what people might feel like wanting to sing to.
Right.
So I don't play around.
You don't play around.
I don't like people in my space too much. When I'm in the studio, I don't like people in my space too much. Like I like my privacy. I'm very particular. But yeah, it comes out like this.
Like that.
Comes out like
I see. And do you write your own songs? I mean, do you write or you just get into the booth and you just start spitting?
Oh no, I'm not a freestyler. Please don't ever ask me to freestyle. I'm a songwriter. Like, yeah, I'm very intentional with what I write.
Okay, I see. So there's a particular speculation out there. I am not one to really feed into speculations, but it's becoming a thing, and so that has necessitated me to ask you. You can choose not to answer if that's okay by you, but what's this thing going on with your fellow artist Amare? A lot of people are speculating that you guys are, you know, not in a good place. What's that about?
I don't know. All I see is two girls, you know, making waves from Ghana to the world, you know?
Awesome. And what did you make of, you know, both of you have a big song together, which is, I mean, that introduced me to your sound, Sad Girls Love Money. I remember when I heard that sound, I decided to look you up and, you know, got to find out about your sound and all of that, which is, like I said, Sad Girls Love Money. But that song wasn't performed on a big stage you performed at. And a lot of people had issues with it. Did you have issues with it as well? What did you think of? What did you make of the song not being performed at the Coachella?
I think it was performed. I saw it being performed.
You saw it being performed?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If you say so. Anyway, for people watching you, especially young people like you who are watching, what do you want them to see when they see Molly? What do you want them to take away from your craft, your music, and your personality?
I think my key takeaway is always like confidence. You know, people may not always expect me to be in a certain space, you know. And it's not just me. I just think as any kind of young artist, if you have a huge creative idea and a huge passion and you want to like, you know, go into it, you're always going to get like naysayers or people that doubt you or people that don't. It's even worse to be like completely ignored. Like you're not even existing. Like nobody sees what you're even doing. So like I would say, you know, you have to dig deep and know yourself and just be sure, like, if you really, really love what you're doing, like, that should be enough. If you have one friend in your corner or two, or even a family member in your corner that believes in you, like, don't take that for granted. Like, let that be your fuel. Don't be clouded by everything that is supposed to be against you. You need to focus on what you have and what's positive about what you're doing and use it to take you to the next level. And the next level will keep you going as well.
Great message. Great. I mean, it's such disappointing. It's so disappointing that you weren't here. We probably would have done your challenge together, but it's okay.
We'll make it happen. We're gonna make it happen.
Definitely. But you have been very sweet. I guess in wrapping up, obviously, Shake It to the Max is still, you know, banging. And then we have Baki Ta Ta Ta. What's next after these two?
I think I've never really done a single run, like a moment in my career where I'm just dropping singles consistently. So I'm excited about doing that, although it may end up in a body of work, maybe not. I'm not really, you know, saying just yet. I just know I want to do some more singles.
Okay. I mean, we'll be here. Now you've got our attention. You've got the world's attention as well. And so we'll be, you know, keeping our tabs on you and see all the great bangers that you release. And obviously, we're always here to support, okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much, too. Anyway, that's our conversation with Molly. She is the newest sensation. Is it right for me to say newest? Well, she's been here for a while, but she's got a track that is currently banging on social media. You should check it out. It's called Shake It to the Max. Globally, a lot of people are jumping on it. And so if you are a millennial, you're Gen Z or older, whatever it is, so you want to shake it to the max, well, that's a great song to shake it to the max with. Anyway, before I go, let me say congratulations to Black Sheriff. He has been nominated in this year's BET Best International Act Award. He's there with some, hardcore artists as well. But listen, we don't really care about the hardcore. So all we care about is Black one. Definitely he's winning that for sure. So congratulations to him. Also, unfortunate news, Ifwa Santowa Sing-a-thon, the second attempt wasn't successful. I mean, what's happening? But anyway, Guinness explained why it wasn't successful. That's on your screens. It says rest breaks are the only point. Okay, Director, can you pause it a bit so I can read it? Thank you so much. So it says, application disqualified. Our expert record managers have reviewed the evidence you provided, and unfortunately, this claim is not valid due to the guidelines not being met. And they cited rest breaks. You're allowed 5 minutes rest for every continuous completed hour of activities. I'm thinking she probably took 10 minutes break at every hour. I'm guessing. I'm not saying that's what it is, but at this point, I'm assuming. But anyway, it's an unfortunate news, but if you know FY, you know she doesn't give up. You never know. We may get another Sing-a-thon 3.0, maybe in the US, because I know she's currently in the US. But anyway, we wish her all the best. And that's it for our show today. I mean, we're done with the show today. I'm very excited today. You can tell by my outfit, very colorful. I woke up feeling like ice cream and chocolate. Well, there are no chocolate themes, but you get it, ice cream. Anyway, that's it for E-Corner. I'm Noella Carinielli, and of course, coming up next is the adorable Mamisi Thompson with Joy News Desk. Until then, until Friday when you see me again, be fabulous, always, okay? And from all of us here, myself, Benjamin Sweetie Abochi, we say have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you when we see you on Monday. Ta-ta.